Wednesday night at Edmonton, Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and the goaltenders were the stars of the show.
Gretzky crisscrosses, fires, blocked by Hextall. Grossman hands it back to Eklund, gives to Howe, drive, tipped in front, another shot, and Muir has it. Now Messier guides it back up the wing, Gretzky drive, blocked by Hextall, rebound, a save, high by Hextall. Tikkanen behind. They look to the front for Gretzky. Puck sent to Gregg, and he shot it wide. Here's Gretzky. Tikkanen, and a pad stop made by Hextall.
ESPN, the network of the National Hockey League, presents the Stanley Cup Finals. Tonight, live from the Spectrum in Philadelphia, it's Game 3 between the Edmonton Oilers and the Philadelphia Flyers. The goaltenders were the stars of the show Wednesday night in Edmonton, but early in the second period, the Oilers had a two-man power play. And that is oh so dangerous, especially when Wayne Gretzky is on the ice. Gretzky got the Oilers on the board first as Edmonton took a 1-0 lead at home. But later on, in the third period of play, Philadelphia had the advantage, 2-1 when this man, Glenn Anderson, put on one of the best individual efforts you will ever see in any hockey game. He tied the score at 2, sending the crowd at Northland's Coliseum into a frenzy and sending this game into sudden death overtime. And in that overtime period at Edmonton, once again, the big names came up big. Wayne Gretzky setting up in the left face-off circle to Paul Coffey in the slot to Jari Kurri, who sweeps it by Ron Hextall. The Flyers leave dejected. The Oilers leave to the cheers of their fans. They have a 2-0 lead in this best-of-7 series. The Flyers hope the home crowd will work for them tonight. And good evening, everyone. Welcome live to the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Sold out, as always, for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The playoffs sometimes become a numbers game. For the Edmonton Oilers, who hope to put the crush on the Flyers, the numbers are all positive. They win here tonight, they take an insurmountable 3-0 lead, seemingly so. If the Flyers win tonight, well, they'll crawl back in the series and try and pull even Sunday night. The Oilers have had their troubles in this building over the years, but what's going to happen tonight? Let's go to Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
Bill, in the game 3 nights ago, it was the idea of dictating play. That was the thing that the Philadelphia coaching staff had as its objective. Do you think they did it well?
In Game 2, they did, Mike, all but for about 6 minutes. I thought the Flyers played an excellent hockey game, but they let down and didn't dictate their style, but for 6 minutes in that hockey game and let the Edmonton Oilers really start to roll and start to skate. That was enough for Edmonton to be patient, and that's a new word that we're using to describe the Edmonton Oilers team these days, to be patient and come back and win the hockey game. Tonight, the Flyers will have to do it from the drop of the puck right till the end. 60 minutes of dictating their style.
Let's turn the clock back 2 games. Let's re-examine Bill Clement's keys, both for Edmonton and for Philadelphia, and see how well these two teams have done as sort of a report card.
Well, we started with goaltenders, and Grant Fuhr has been next to flawless, and when he has had flaws, his team has covered for him, and you know what? You forget the flaws when your team wins the first 2 games. Number 2, patience and discipline. This is the change the Oilers have gone through. In both those games, they were either tied or behind going into the third period, and they came back and won both hockey games, so that is intact. They've controlled Ron Hextall very well. He hasn't handled the puck as much as he would like to. The Oilers have played a very smart game against him, so their checklist checks out. They've done very well.
The key for Philadelphia, first of all, was the self-same, Ron Hextall.
And I'll tell you, I can't believe he's lost 2 hockey games. He has been flawless. Your heart had to go out to him, even if you were an Oilers fan in Game 2. He played so spectacularly. Number 2, bit of a flaw here, controlling Messier and Gretzky. Big Messier has been somewhat controlled. He's only had 2 assists, but of the 7 goals the Oilers have scored in the first 2 games, Mike, Gretzky has figured in 4 of them. 2 goals, 2 assists. Health. Flyers are getting healthier, but they had so many chances in close that they weren't able to capitalize on in those first 2 games. You have to think they really missed Tim Kerr, and he comes back into mind when you look at that third thing, health.
When you think of Philadelphia, you think of boom, 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 aggressiveness, hard hitting. How do you think they did in the first 2 games?
They didn't do well in Game 1. They did much better in Game 2. I think tonight, with the added adrenaline of playing in front of their hometown crowd, and they are noisy here, the Flyers will be very physical, especially in the early going.
Speaking of adrenaline, this crowd is so wired, they were cheering the pregame warm-up saves of Ron Hextall, Tom.
And, Mike, as you know, through the years, there is no surprise there. These fans here in Philly can get as pumped up on occasion as anyone in the National Hockey League. The Flyers have to score, though. They've only averaged 2 goals In the first 2 games of this series, the Edmonton defense hasn't given up more than 3 goals since the first round of the playoffs. We'll have the introductions in a moment. The sellout crowd and the Oilers and Flyers are set for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Let's go down to the men who will call the action on ESPN, Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
Thank you, Tom. Don Koharski is the referee for tonight's game. Kevin Collins and Ron Finn are the linesmen. There you see the captain, Dave Poulin, who led by example in Game 7 against the Islanders. Also in a critical game against the Montreal Canadiens. That was Game 6. And the opening faceoff involves him and Messier, and it's the Oilers who are able to control. Craig Muni, surprise addition to the lineup tonight for Edmonton, is out to play and is able to follow ahead up the wing to Mark Messier. Messier drops one back to Anderson and flipped in front, and Brad Marsh knocked it down as Nielsen had the try. He's in front again, and this time denied by Marsh. The big defenseman comes through in the first 30 seconds of play.
What a hit by Muni.
Pocket trying to turn away from Kevin Lowe. Puck handled and thrown in front by Crossman, and it bounced away. If the Oilers hurry, they might get a 2-on-1, but Poulin fighting all the way, knocks down Anderson. So far, Bill, you're right on the money. This is more aggressive. And it is Messier connecting up the wing. Checked is Messier, pestered by McCrimmon further, and it's Lowe dropping one back in.
You know, the Gremlins are still chasing Kent Nielsen. The Oilers could be up 1-0. He had Hextall out of the net. The puck bounced over his stick, and Brad Marsh was able to make the stop.
Lindsey Carson with the hit on Gretzky as the play made by Sutter. All the way around to Esa Tikkanen. Mellanby locking him up. The play made off Carson and chopped ahead, and here's Gretzky dueling with Mark Howe. Gretzky crosses. The drop is to Tikkanen. Couldn't shake by. Tikkanen jousts with Howe, and the puck thrown back out by Carson. A minute and a half gone. First period of play. Made even more dramatic at the start by the Anthems. Here is Curry moving in and flings one wide. Around to Tikkanen, dubbed it. Play made by Howe. Headmans to Mellanby, and couldn't react. Shift changes on, and Dave Brown comes out. Also, Darryl Stanley and Zezel as the front line for Philadelphia.
Mike, this is the time of the game that the Oilers told us after Game 2 in Edmonton they are going to have to withstand. They knew the Flyers would come out like this. They have to hold their ground early.
Here's Brown sending one in front across the goal mouth wide. Marsh keeping it. Wraps for Stanley, but it is over to Gregg. And then Gregg was thumped on the play by Peter Zezel. Crossman for Philadelphia puts it in the glove of Grant Fuhr. And sets it up for Gregg, and he's brush checked by Dave Brown. Gretzky flips back on the wing to Kevin McClellan. Sized up by Marsh. McClellan's shot is blocked by Marsh. And along for a freight train attempt was Peter Zezel, and the fans really responding to this. The most aggressive start for both the teams. 2:28 gone. First period, no score.
Flyers are at their aggressive best early. It's a crucial time for the Oilers. Watch Dave Brown stalking Randy Gregg. Gregg will get rid of the puck. That's called following through with your check. And thus far, the Flyers have 7 hits in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds of this game. The Oilers have yet to lay a body against anyone.
It'll be Poulin opposite McTavish. Puck one back to Huddy. Drive, and that padded by Ron Hextall. Kicked by Poulin. The Oilers unable to keep in. We have a stoppage of play, and a roughing penalty has been signaled by the referee, Don Koharski. It was away from the play, and so we're not sure who they're taking, but it'll be an Oiler, Dave Hunter. The first power play is Philadelphia's. We have no score.
Glenn Sather's first obstacle is a penalty to Dave Hunter here in the first period. The Flyers on the power play in this series so far, they've had 5 attempts, no goals. And the Oilers really force them because they know they don't have Tim Kerr out there, Mike.
Zezel with Eklund on the left and Propp on the right. And Bill, you and I both saw instances in the first 2 games in which the situation was just right for Kerr out in front of the goal for that quick hair trigger shot. But here is Eklund looking for Propp, angles for him, but he left it, and Charlie Huddy took over. Huddy clears, and that a very hard one for Crossman to contain. 2 shots Oilers, no shots Philadelphia. There have been some mistakes that we've noted just out of nervousness. McCrimmon hitting the back of his own goal, trying to pass it along. One of the Oilers just simply mishandling the puck, and that's to be understood. Oilers ahead in the series, 2-0. No score in this one, and power play time is 1:20 as again, for the second time, Philadelphia must chase with the man advantage. Something occupying the crowd. It was a Zezel entanglement with Paul Coffey. Meanwhile, it's Crossman ahead for Tim Tukey, but that checked away and flung back in. Check that, Murray Craven, pardon me. And the puck thrown back in, out of McCrimmon. McCrimmon lays it right back across to Murray Craven. Craven with a pass up the wing to Daigneault. Daigneault is the other surprise entry in the lineup tonight. He hadn't played in the early game. McCrimmon back to take it for Philadelphia. McTavish among the penalty killers, out with Mark Messier. Muni in back, working with Lowe. And they turn in tandem to play this, though Poulin comes in to test Muni. It is Daigneault playing. Gives for Crump, but it's back from a McCrimmon shot. And that's smothered, and they have a 2-on-1 now. A 2 on the goaltender. Messier breakaway. Score! Shorthanded goal. 1-0 Edmonton.
And you can't ask for a better start if you're dressed in blue and orange and white tonight. Tough luck for Ron Hextall on a breakaway, a shorthanded goal. McTavish has it. I'll tell you what, Messier's got way better legs than McTavish, and McTavish knows it. He sends him away. Watch, he will go to his backhand and deposit it between Ron Hextall's legs. Hextall had him wide if he decides to go wide, but Messier pulls it. And Hextall doesn't have a choice. He has to open his legs there. Here's our reverse angle, super slow-mo. You can see McCrimmon take out McTavish, but McTavish had already jumped. He didn't care if he was up on the play. What's Messier? Hang on to it. Hextall doesn't commit. He plays it correctly. Messier just beats him, and that's the best way to diffuse this crowd, and the Philadelphia Flyers adrenaline might get that early goal, and the Oilers have done it.
Philadelphia still with 12 seconds to go on its power play. And J.J. Daigneault with a pass on ahead to Howe. Howe connects with Kelly Eklund. Moves in, and it's Zezel driving one, trying to connect with Howe, but it's off the mark, and back up with it comes Wayne Gretzky. Has Curry there, and Hunter out of the box. Gretzky to Curry, and he couldn't get the shot away. Oh, is that ever a rare one? Loose puck now, taken by Howe. Howe checked off by Hunter. It's worked loose behind by Curry. Curry still working for it, and the puck tied up in the corner, 2 aside, and a stoppage of play with the score. Oilers 1 and the Flyers nothing.
Here's trouble for the Flyers. It's Wayne Gretzky. See him check the middle of the ice surface. He has Jari Kurri breaking. You can see Curry turn. They're such astute offensive hockey players. They check all areas of the ice surface. Gretzky tries a little elevator pass. And if you remember it, Jari Kurri was unable to control it, and he just dubbed it a little bit, and it went wide.
The faceoff will see Curry left out, along with Tikkanen to the right of Gretzky. It'll be Gregg positioned back in case Gretzky is able to work a backhand faceoff win. But Ron Sutter will be trying to prevent that for Philadelphia. 15:04 to go first period. The Oilers leading the game by a score of 1-0. And Curry moves to it. This gives it a whack, but Brad McCrimmon spins to play for the Flyers. Along to Carson, locked up with Ruotsalainen. Punched further by Curry. Carson tried to take it out of trouble, but got in some, and so it's Mellanby retrieving over to McCrimmon. And McCrimmon flips for Carson. Puck tipped by Ruotsalainen, and Grant Fuhr just out there to hang on.
Road to the Cup, the Stanley Cup Finals on ESPN, being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By the crisp, clean, imported taste of Labatt's Blue. It's blue heaven. And by United Airlines. You're not just flying, you're flying the friendly sky. Well, the home ice hasn't been too friendly to Philadelphia. Edmonton leads at 1-0. Here's Mike Emrick and Bill Clement.
And for Edmonton, the goal was by Mark Messier, his first of the series and 11th of the playoffs at 4:14. As you see, Ron Sutter, Messier's goal had only 1 assist, and that was by McTavish. Only 1 penalty in the game, and it's the first time in the playoffs that Philadelphia has given up a shorthanded goal. They've scored 5.
You know, Mike, in the playoffs, the team that has scored first in the 87 playoff games has won 54. They're working at a 66%, so there's an advantage, without question, an advantage in tallying first in the playoffs. Home ice hasn't meant anything, but scoring first still does.
Back when Mr. Clement and his crew were winning 2 cups in 74 and 75, the Philadelphia Flyers had a home record of 17-1. This year, They are just 5-5. But this has been a year when the big mystery has been home ice problems. Like the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and Bermuda Triangle. The one in hockey has been, why don't teams win at home? That happened, of course, favorably for the Oilers in this series in the first 2 games, but it sure has been the exception, not the rule. Huddy flips one wide. Puck comes back to Coffey. Angles one, hoping for McSorley, wedged off by Marsh, and it's Zezel standing into McSorley after he cleared it up to Dave Brown. Brown's pass is on the money to Stanley with Brad Marsh, but the pass came over the line and forced an offside, and now Marsh and McSorley get their sticks up like Robin Hood and Little John. But there'll be a neutral zone faceoff. 14 minutes, 11 seconds left in this opening period. Charlie Huddy, the first winner of the plus-minus award for the league, and here are winners of heavyweight awards.
Well, Daryl Stanley has Marty McSorley completely tied up. That's the kind of help that Ron Hextall needs. We've talked about the men away from the puck. You can see McSorley didn't have it. Stanley did what the Flyers do best. Clutch, grab. What a great shot of the old clutch and grab that Toronto Maple Leafs popularized in the 50s. Finally, Peter Zezel comes in to help out on Marty McSorley.
Would you say aggressiveness by both teams now through these first 5 minutes and 50 seconds have been more than we've seen in earlier games?
Oh, I think without question, and especially for the Flyers, but they've dumped and chased well. Flyers established their hitting game with their forechecking game. It goes hand in hand. They get to center, and if they don't have a numerical advantage, they dump and they chase and they hit everything that moves and give that man, Grant Fuhr, as many problems as they can. Has he been phenomenal? I don't think we can say that either goaltender has had the advantage. I might even say that Hextall has played a touch better. I go back to the prop goal in Game 1. There was a long shot that Grant Fuhr could have, perhaps should have stopped. And at the other end, I'm not sure Ron Hextall has been beaten yet with a goal that he could have stopped. Oh, the overtime goal, Jari Kurri, it was point blank. He never stopped it. And, you know, Hextall didn't even have a chance to set up. But it's been great goaltending, and neither of these teams would have arrived at the finals without Fuhr or without Hextall.
Along with Tom Mees and Bill Clement from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Mike Emmerich, Game 3, Stanley Cup Finals. Oilers lead the series 2-0 and lead the game 1-0. The puck is turned along. It looked as though it might have come to Gretzky, but it only gets to him via the pass of Krushelnyski. McCrimmon flips just away from the reach of Krushelnyski, and it is Coffey handling for Edmonton. Coffey spinning, and it's lost to Craven. Craven centers, and it's chopped away by Huddy. Hextall comes charging out of the goal to swing it away from Gretzky. McCrimmon banks back in for Philadelphia. Flyers are doing some dumping and chasing here. As Bill mentioned, Pop hammers his man. Craven over, cross-bodied by Krushelnyski. Puck taken by Gretzky and rolled along so that Charlie Huddy can move it further. 13-15 left in this opening period. In case you're just joining us, the score is 1-0 Edmonton on a breakaway shorthanded goal by Mark Messier. It is Lowe, shuffling it off for Charlie Huddy. Huddy has 2 men moving toward him, so his life flashed for a moment with Tocchet nearby and gave it along. By Peter Zezel into Anderson, and Zezel has the puck. Stepping in, tries to get by the defense and is down. Pinching is Derek Smith. Still Zezel is down as Fuhr handles this one and then covers up stoppage of play. 12:46 left in the first. Oilers 1, Flyers 0.
There you see the score, and you wouldn't think Edmonton would be leading this hockey game 1-0 if you were tracking the hits. Our capable stats people up here are. The Flyers have already totaled 13 hits, and we're talking mostly major hits on the Oilers, and the Oilers have only retaliated twice. But that's where the terms patience and discipline come in. The Oilers cannot react to these hits.
McTavish and Zezel for the face-off, and Craig Muni rolls it along to Lowe. Pinching is Tocchet, but it is McTavish who will follow it up. He's got McClellan on his right. It's a 2-on-2, and the drop is to McClellan, but the play is offside. We should make mention of the fact that Craig Muni is in the lineup tonight. Steve Smith is out, and now something occurring involving Marsh and McClellan.
Kevin McClellan's in the lineup. I asked him after Game 2 if he thought that his role might be a little more important here in Philadelphia. He's looked upon as one of the Oilers bangers along with Marty McSorley. And he said perhaps but I don't think he wanted to give any fuel to the Flyers. I don't think he wanted the Flyers to assume that the Oilers were going to expect them to come out and bang away in this Game 3.
J.J. Daigneault is in the lineup for Philadelphia. We mentioned that, but we did not indicate who is out, and that is Ilka Sinisalo. No injury to Smith, no injury to Sinisalo is the indication, so these are just strategical changes. 12:35 left in this opening period, and it is Dave Poulin testing with McTavish. Prop swings it back, and it's handled by Crossman. Crossman lays it on for Brad Marsh, who tried to kick it, but it is Muni to recover across to Kevin Lowe. Misses for McTavish, and play now between the blue lines as Prop tries to tip ahead. McTavish turning and banks it in. Hextall comes out just to slow it for Crossman. Nearly missed the signal, but Crossman can control. One shot for Philadelphia, 4 for Edmonton. Oilers leading 1-0. Play misses for Craven, and Lowe tips it back, and so Hextall has to come out to deny Hunter. But here's McTavish, a shot, and Hextall blocks it.
Boy, did he come out to cut down the angle.
And Hextall out to direct some traffic now to Brad McCrimmon.
He was getting back to try and cut down the angle. He was so far out.
Here's Mellanby firing one off the glass. Poulin in, checked by Messier. Howe follows up. Mellanby turns, surrounded by blue and orange. And Randy Gregg nudges it along, but Mellanby anticipated well. Play made by Ruotsalainen on the Edmonton defense, though, to Messier, and back across to Anderson. Anderson has Messier moving, but misses him with the pass. Hextall to Howe. And Howe rolls. Carson there waiting to take. Out to Mellanby, has a man across. It is McCrimmon, but plays it into Fuhr. And Grant Fuhr just swings it along, but it is Carson there. Rolls for Mellanby. Pursued by Randy Gregg and check. In comes Zezel. Messier puts the shoulder into him. Zezel a shot off Ruotsalainen, and Carson tried to hack it away, but couldn't. Ruotsalainen just lost one that flops out of play into the penalty box. Open penalty boxes here. That's why you see now and then you see gentlemen with helmet masks on. They are the off-ice officials who tonight are from Detroit.
And you know, you certainly wouldn't pick Rexy Ruotsalainen out of a crowd, would you, Mike, as being a hockey player? You should see this guy. You get a sense of the baby face that he has. He looks like he's about 17 years old, and he's built like he's about 17 years old. He's just a tiny guy. Doesn't have real big wrists, but he can shoot the puck with the best. Here's Hextall out to make the save. Now, his angle isn't real good on the boards. You can see that he banked it right back out into play. But he covered.
Poulin and Messier for the faceoff, and Dave Poulin controls. Darryl Stanley and Brown are in front, but Poulin can't get it there because of Gregg's checking. Poulin tries once more, and again, Gregg in the way. Again, Poulin recovers, but the Oilers have it, and moving ahead is Nielsen. Nielsen has to double back and was dangerously in the sights of Dave Brown for a moment. Ruotsalainen's pass is on the turning stick of Anderson. It is McCrimmon, then along to Darryl Stanley and back to Howe. 10:30 left first period. Edmonton leading in the game by a score of 1-0 as Ruotsalainen goes back, and Stanley will be penalized for slashing at Messier. It's a delayed call. Anderson nudges it along and avoided most of both hits that were tried on him. The pass went by Gretzky, and with this, Howe slaps it, and the penalty will be called. The score of our game from the corner of Broad and Patterson Streets in South Philadelphia. Oilers 1, Flyers 0.
There's a look at Darryl Stanley. The Oilers are on the power play. Let's tell you what they've done so far in the playoffs. They've had 7 opportunities. They've scored on 1. In their 7 opportunities, they've had 9 quality scoring opportunities. That's something that they don't have a shortage of players for. When it comes to generating offense, boy, that's a penalty that will drive Mike Keenan crazy. You could see it was strictly retaliation. Messier was hooking him, slowing him down, doing his job, and Stanley just turned around and flailed on him. Patience and discipline. Well, we've talked so much about the Oilers having those 2 qualities, Mike, in the playoffs, but we haven't mentioned Philadelphia. But, you know, the foundation of this organization is built on patience and discipline, mostly in a defensive way. That wasn't the best example of it right there.
Philadelphia has maintained that discipline compared to the rest of the teams competing for the Stanley Cup. They are still the lowest team in average penalty minutes in the playoffs. As Curry rolls, and Gretzky right there to take it. Gretzky drops to Messier. Then back to Gretzky. No one is inside the box yet. Gretzky finesses to Messier. Then to Gretzky. Fires. Blocked by Marsh. Cleared, but not out. Huddy to Coffey and over to Gretzky. Gretzky shuttled that one off of Sutter. Messier crisply back to Coffey. Looks for Curry. Still looks. Flings to Curry, and it's tipped by Hextall. Crossman poked it along. Puck kept, though, and wedged back by Huddy. Messier duels with Brad Marsh. In for the check is Sutter. And Marsh able to get it along. This is Brian Propp. Hit by Curry. Hit once more. And it is Huddy. But Propp trying to strip it from him. And all this time a-wasting on the Oiler power play. They're down to 50 seconds. But ahead comes Paul Coffey. Looks for a pass. Flings it to Curry. Chopped at by Poulin. They hurried it for Messier, or rather Tikkanen, but missed him. And it's cleared by Howe. Ruotsalainen drifting for the Oilers. Connects on to Coffey with 30 seconds left on the man advantage. And Gretzky able to get by the hook check of Poulin. Gretzky had Curry poised and waiting. Didn't want that one. May want the pass. Broken up by Howe. But Curry off Howe and in the front of the goal. And reaching out is Hextall.
Oh. Those are the toughest. The broken play right in at Hextall's feet, and it squeezed through to the other side. He had to pull it back in himself. It was a race between Hextall and Curry. Gretzky's holding, waiting for somebody to move. What's happening is he's looking for a blue shirt to get open. Tikkanen took a poke at it, and it was just a race, wasn't an extension race. Here's our exclusive super slow-mo camera that's a reverse angle. Watch Curry behind the net. He will come right around as soon as he sees the pucks through the net. And here's the race. It's Hextall pulling it back in, and you can see that he just is able to hook it back in. Pretty cool for a rookie. We sometimes lose sight of that. It's been a long season. He led the NHL in the games that he appeared in, 66, led in wins, 37, was third in goals against average. Montreal took that away from him on the final night of the season.
92nd game. Not too many bad ones in there. Coffey to Ruotsalainen. Down went Sutter. Fans complain, but it's Gretzky handing to Ruotsalainen for the drive that's wide. And it is Sutter unable to control. Coffey misses for Messier, and they must regroup. 3 seconds left on the power play. Messier's pass is too far for Ruotsalainen. And Hextall slugs it. Right there to wait was Gretzky, but he couldn't take it. Sutter tries to poke it further, and Lowe, with a sprawling play, is able to seal it. 8:05 left first period. Oilers leading 1-0.
Watch this shot from our reverse angle. Ron Sutter's going down the side. Here comes Kevin Lowe. Now he's doing one of three things. He's either trying to get through the door or sacrificing his body, or he simply tripped. We're not sure, but it sure looked good. The final result was great.
I'll vote for two. Number 2. It would have been an even further sacrifice had he gotten through the door. On now McTavish. McTavish must regroup and then slug it away from Brad Marsh. Propp clears. The teams are at even strength. We have 7:45 to go first period. 1-0. The Oilers leading the Philadelphia Flyers Game 3 Stanley Cup Finals on ESPN. Glad you've joined us tonight. 17,222. Emotion-charged atmosphere as they replayed Kate Smith singing God Bless America from the day the Flyers won their first championship, May 19, 1974. Puck flipped ahead now to McTavish. Can't clear him. Instead it is Brian Propp. It's shuttled quickly to Eklund. Eklund centers, but Tocchet unable to get his way there. And then he rams into McClellan for good measure as it's Muni connecting to Kevin Lowe. Alternate captain for the Oilers. Lowe able to steer further, then gives on to Hunter. Tried for McTavish, but it's Brad Marsh. Marsh for the Flyers to Eklund, their leading scorer in the playoffs. Shift change on. Derek Smith is his left winger now. Eklund with a drive, and Muir deflected that one away and seemed to have trouble. It is Gregg putting it into a pile. Along to try to pick it loose, Derek Smith, but can't. Stoppage of play. Scott Mellenby across the way in a walk, applied by Kelly Buchberger.
Take a look at the Flyers' most skilled player, Pelle Eklund. Boy, he's almost a center when he lets this go. See the puck wavering. It's wobbling back and forth. You never know. It's not quite a quack. You see how much trouble he had with it? It's like a knuckleball when it comes in. It's able to change direction. Our super slow-mo was able to track it all the way in. Those are the tough ones. They'll move left, they'll move right, they'll move up or down. Phil Niekro would have been proud of that man on that one. And, you know, that was the Flyers' second shot on goal. We got 6 minutes and 43 seconds to go in the first period. And the Flyers have done what they wanted to do as far as the hits are concerned. 20 hits to 4 at about the halfway point. But those guys you're looking at right now are going to have to generate a little offense. 2 shots in 14 minutes. Not quite enough on Grant Fuhr, unless he decides to let in a bad one. But let's not count on that.
Oilers have 7 on Ron Hextall, one of them in. McCrimmon couldn't get it to the front because of Derek Smith. Pursued by Krushelnyski, so it's Mellanby to swing it. Krushelnyski right there to answer, but Mellanby takes over again. Has Derek Smith in front, and the pass came through. Howe, a shot saved. Your rebound set wide. And the Oilers are able to flop it back out.
I don't think we'll ever see a better example of just how quick Grant Fuhr's legs are with those big pads on him. He robbed the Flyers.
Derek Smith can't penetrate. Kelly Buchberger, aggressive winger, playing in his 3rd Stanley Cup game. Ruotsalainen and Zezel. Zezel trying for the freeze. Ruotsalainen there, and the puck nudged right back along. It is Derek Smith. Backhander blocked away by Fuhr. A penalty coming up to the Oilers as Zezel feeds. And now, with Buchberger's touch, the penalty will be called. 5:56 to go in the first period. Philadelphia to get power play 2, trailing 1-0.
Well, if anybody wasn't sure if the Flyers were using 1 or 2 men in deep to forecheck, watch Scott Mellanby here. He pushes Krushelnyski out of the way. You can see the stick on the ice. That's Peter Zezel's. Mellanby knows he has to get in and help. Great move around Krushelnyski. Also loses his stick, but he gets the puck back to Derek Smith with his skate. Does the turn, and you can see right at the top of your screen Scott Mellanby checking to see what happened on the shot. But both Zezel and Mellanby lost their sticks on that little play, and both of them accomplished something in spite of it. I love this line. Either Zezel at center or Ron Sutter, and give me Smith on one side and Scott Mellanby on the other side, and you've got a great line in the NHL that can play against any team.
Zezel was in the weird sort of position of having to momentarily freeze the puck back then and hope that Ruotsalainen would come along and help out, being stickless. But it is Zezel now for the face-off tie-up with Messier, and it's back to Mark Howe. Off to Eklund. At the front, Propp and Charlie Huddy for Edmonton. Howe connects along to Crossman, tried to feed to Propp, and boy, was he being chopped at by Coffey. Over now to Eklund. Dishes back off to Zezel, then to Eklund once more. Flips it in front, and that one glanced off Fuhr. And Coffey tries to wheel it out, but can't. McTavish still trying, and a hand pass is ruled, and the faceoff will remain in the Edmonton zone.
How quick is Grant Fuhr? And he can see it through the crowd. We noticed that in Game 2 especially. So many screens. Zezel was banging people in front. All the Flyers, big, steady forwards. Watch Fuhr's concentration. Take a look and see if you think if you're Grant Fuhr, you could see what's happening. You can see Charlie Huddy on the left. He moves to the right. Now the shot will come through the crowd. What a great look at it.
Didn't get it by much, but it doesn't matter how much.
Such a loose guy, too. He's sitting here tonight before the game, sitting in the stands, dressed in a pair of presentable underwear, shall we say, long underwear, has a coffee, standing out on the hall, chatting with guys, golfs 36 holes when he has a chance, between games, on a day off. Just loves to play.
I bet the first thing he noticed this morning was the wind. Back it comes for a drive, pad, stop Fuhr. And it's McTavish trying to clear, but it's on now to Messier. Messier turns from the hook of Zezel, and then just flips one in. Hextall, who says he's not much of an off-day golfer, and leaves that for Mark Howe. Howe has Eklund ahead on the left, but passes for Propp, and it is shanked back, and they were trying for Hunter ahead. This one comes to Eklund. Then to Howe in the final 5 minutes of this first period. Oilers ahead in the game, 1-0. A minute 3 on the Philadelphia power play as Eklund moves in with it. Has Sutter, gives back to the point, and unable to arrive in time was Daigneault. Zezel staring some daggers at Hunter. Now he wants to move in further.
You have to wonder, too, if J.J. Daigneault's timing isn't just a bit off. He sprained ligaments, tore up his foot in the Rangers series, and he's missed quite a bit of time. Here's Eklund again. He's carrying the puck more tonight than we saw him in the first period in Edmonton. And you see how he did that little dip to the left? That buys him time. Time for someone to get open, and that's Wayne Gretzky's strength. Watch Ron Sutter try and deflect this one on Grant Fuhr. I don't think he made contact with it. And I'll tell you, that's what the Flyers do very well, and that's what they're going to have to do to take Grant Fuhr's vision away from him, is jam for the rebounds and move in right on top of him. You accomplish so much. You not only take his vision away, but you're there for the rebound.
It is Muni tapping and low clearing, and then he took a high hit from Rick Tocchet. Down to the final 45 seconds of the power play. And it is J.J. Daigneault shuffling it off now for the carry by Eklund. Eklund turns, is hooked, but pops it further, and Muni slugs it along. And again, Daigneault keeps it from going the length. And he was pursued by Gretzky. Gretzky sweeping near him again. Curry the forechecker, and the Flyers somewhat indecisive right now. Pass comes through to Eklund. Tries to get by the defense, and down he goes. Puck knocked away. And it is played by Poulin. 17 seconds power play. Quick shot is juggled and caught by Fuhr off Brian Propp. Down went Muni, and he gets up to check a license number.
You know, that's about a 1 in 20 shot. You'll always see the attacking forward, the offensive guy standing in front, and he'll end up going flying, but it was Tocchet that came in and bounced Muni in his first game back. Here comes Eklund again. He's trying to split the defense, and I guess technically that's a penalty because contact wasn't made with the puck on that, but Eklund went down anyway. Here's Poulin trying to buy himself some time. The Oilers really are doing a good job of pursuing the Flyers. There's a shot. Watch Tocchet label Muni. But I honestly have to think, here's another look at it. Honestly have to think that the Oilers are pressuring the Flyers even more than they would, Mike, if Tim Kerr were in the lineup. Because when you pressure, you have to leave yourself out of position, and he controls the middle of the ice so well that if you leave him open and it's on his stick, bing, it's gone.
No, I think some of the fans, you may have thought in terms of penalty shot, whenever there's a foul from behind, there are 5 criteria for that, and probably the one that was most suspect that time was clear of the defense, because there were men at the side of Eklund, just like bookends, and so there was no real clarity of defense. But I think anytime a man's pulled down, there's always that little question in the mind, should there have been a penalty shot there or not?
Sure.
It is McTavish for the face-off with Zezel. 13 seconds left on the minor penalty as the puck comes back to the point for a shot, and controlling it once more is Daigneault, and a shot stick saved by Fuhr. Zezel to Daigneault. Doesn't want to play to Howe, as watching him was McTavish. Spun in front, and Tocchet took the legs out from under Huddy. Play made by Messier. Penalty time is now up, but Howe keeps play moving. Sends it just away from Propp. Propp pursued by Coffey, and Propp without a stick for Zezel, who tried to center, but Huddy wasn't buying. And around it is sent for McTavish. Moves back out. Shift change on for Edmonton. So McTavish right now all alone, except for Flyers, who force him off the play. Daigneault and Howe working that play on defense as it's moved along to Tocchet. Pass chipped down by Wayne Gretzky, but followed up by Howe. In the final 3:20 of the period, Howe moves ahead and looks for the shot. Blocked by Fuhr. Oh, he saw the screen forming and let that wrist shot go. Ron Sutter sees Mellenby taken away. Centers for Sutter, and the shot wide. All over him was Curry. Paul Coffey in, shouldered by Derek Smith. Coffey gives it up for the shot by Mellenby. Knocked down on defense by Charlie Huddy. He covers, stoppage of play. Well, just as we mentioned, the Flyers' attack had produced only one shot. They've gotten the next 7 in a row unmolested by the Oilers.
They've played a solid period. That'll include number 2, Mark Howe. See the diagonal move across the zone and how the whole flow goes to the net? That's right out of Wayne Gretzky's book, but don't think Mark Howe doesn't have his own set of plays. As soon as you start moving diagonally in the zone, the flow continues. The whole flow doesn't read what you were doing, and you buy yourself so much time and you set up such a huge screen. And I think that's probably Wayne Gretzky's #1 move, is the diagonal move on his forehand across the zone. And it's far more difficult than it would look just to pursue and attack. He's very, very quick when he does it, and he turns so sharply too. He has such a small turning radius.
Bill had mentioned earlier in this series that Fuhr gets more surprises than Ron Hextall just by the nature of the defense. And the 7 shots that have come up by Philadelphia, not interrupted by any Oilers shots, have been some of them of the surprise variety. Puck cleared back along, and Marsh there tried to work it further, but it's thrown back out by Ruotsalainen, then following through on his check. Well out of camera range by that time was Derek Smith. Samuelsson ahead now to Mellanby. Tries to recover for Smith, but right on him is Jari Kurri, and Derek Smith checking him. It's a give up to Ron Sutter. Sutter peels off near Randy Gregg and fires. Save, rebound. Oh, marvelous save on Mellanby by Fuhr. 10 bells are ringing on that one. It is Samuelsson trying to kick it ahead, but we get a whistle and stoppage of play. And Don Koharski has signaled a roughing penalty. The Philadelphia penalty box door is open. And after Fuhr stones Philadelphia, it'll be a power play for his Oilers.
I can tell when Grant Fuhr has reached the point of being completely unbelievable, because I find myself sitting up here looking down at him, and I'm starting to shake my head now on each save. There's the kick save on Sutter. He didn't have much of a chance to control the rebound. Mellanby had the gaping net, and Grant Fuhr comes from nowhere. Mellanby might have been able to put it a little further into the side of the net. Here's our reverse angle super slow-mo. Sutter's shot. And Mellanby has basically 2/3 of the net. And he pops it into what he thinks is the open part of the net. And Grant Fuhr, I guess if there's one quality that you can talk about when you're describing Grant Fuhr as being his best, quickness. He is unbelievably quick. Reflexes are uncanny. His anticipation is uncanny, and then you combine that with reflexes. That's a big problem for the Flyers. He's going to have an off night, Mike.
Well, he hasn't had many off days on the golf course, and he hasn't had many on the ice. Maybe he won't until next fall. That's what the Oilers hope. Here's Anderson going high with the shot. And it is Dave Poulin taking over. Moving back out with Brian Propp and tries to click one to him. Propp shovels one that's blocked away by Fuhr. Anderson, Nielsen. Also Messier. That's the front line. It's Randy Gregg on the left and Ruotsalainen on the right once they get it set up for plays at the point. Nielsen there, chopped away by McCrimmon, and then Gregg tried to combine with Messier, but missed. Markow has a man ahead, Poulin, but the pass, a stiff one, blocked by Ruotsalainen, brought back by Nielsen and hurried to Messier, denied by Howe. 90 seconds left in this opening period. Oilers ahead in the game 1-0 on a shorthanded goal by Mark Messier. And this play is to Craven. One-on-one opposite Huddy. A shot is stuck to the pad of Fuhr. And Coffey takes over for the Oilers as their penalty time is down now to 50 seconds. 1:15 in the period. Paul Coffey single-handedly got within 80 feet of the net to drop in. Flip it into the glove of Tikkanen. Readied the gun, but has to control. Drops it back to Huddy. Looks it over. It's shanked along to Wayne Gretzky. Flips one in front, and it's swept away by Hextall. Coffey angles off, hoping for Tikkanen. Shoved off by Crossman. Curry hurries it back for Huddy, and he didn't have the handle. 20 seconds left, man advantage, and 40 left in the period. Coffey with a pass that really handcuffed Curry, who glared back in that direction as if to say, what? It is Crossman throwing, and Coffey to control. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, and Zezel forced the hand of the Oilers into a mistake. Tikkanen starts back, penalty time is up. Mellanby has come on the ice for Philadelphia and is trying to get through. Tikkanen got a shot away, the puck loose, and swept right out by Hextall. Coffey scores! He prevented one, but couldn't the other. And the Oilers, with 9 seconds left in the period, have made it 2-0.
He blasts this one over Ron Hextall's shoulder, the very same spot he scored on him in game 1. And you know, Jari Kurri, after the goal, was still arguing that the one he swiped at in front went in. Here's Tikkanen trying to beat Crossman. Well, not tonight. He still gets a shot away. That is the play that Jari Kurri thought went in. Here's Tikkanen. He will try and split Crossman and Marsh. See him lower the shoulder, give him a left-right. Doug Crossman gets part of him, not all of them. And our super slow-mo picks it up perfectly from the other side. tough to tell, but it doesn't look as if it went over, but it's academic at this point. Look at Wayne Gretzky. Look at two men trying to block Gretzky. What do we say about the man away from the puck? You end up being mesmerized by the great one. You had two Flyer players standing there, so Hextall was protected. Paul Coffey was wide open in the most dangerous area of the ice, right in the slot.
The score is 2-0. And we're only 5 seconds from the end of the first period. Zezel and Stanley try to punctuate the period, but the Oilers can chuckle at this as in the emotional first 20 minutes of a game at a new site in this series in Philadelphia, the Flyers trail in the series and in the game 2-0.
And I don't know what they're going to do, Mike. They played an excellent first period. Oh, the Oilers had their chances, but the Flyers, I'm not sure if they could have hit any more, if they could have played with as much determination, any more perseverance. They're still down 2-0.
11 out of 11. Grant Fuhr's shots faced and the number of saves. 2-0 Oilers.
Edmonton Oilers have a 2-0 lead. A shorthanded goal by Mark Messier, and that goal with under 10 seconds left in the first period by Paul Coffey. Welcome back to our Stanley Cup studios, everyone. I'm Tom Mees, and the road to the Cup continues. Joining me now as my special guest is Tim Kerr, who I'm sure would like to be on the ice helping the Flyers' cause tonight, but Tim's shoulder is still ailing. Tim, gee, very disheartening from your point of view, disheartening last minute of play. You know, 1-0 is not insurmountable, but the way Edmonton's Grant Fuhr's been playing, 2-0 just might be.
Well, Grant Fuhr's been outstanding the whole series, and you know, the team came out hard. There's a lot of electricity in the crowd tonight, and we get a power play, and you know, it's always good to get the first power play in the game, and they get that breakaway, and you know, Mark Messier didn't make any mistake on that goal, and to have that one at the end, it's a little disheartening, and it's going to be tough for our team to get up and get going again. Now,
that goal by Coffey, as we saw in our super slow-mo picture, Wayne Gretzky was winding up, and I think Bill Clement made a good observation. You get mesmerized when you see number 99 winding his stick up, and then out of the corner of his right eye, he saw Coffey, and Hextall was helpless on that goal.
Well, it's amazing. You know, for most players, when you get in that situation, they'd panic with the puck and shoot. And I know I would, and you have a player like Wayne Gretzky who has that ability to hold and wait for his spot, and everybody, like you say, Tom, started to look at him, and he found Coffey and made a great pass.
Now, the Oilers got the goals, but the Flyers had their chances, and you saw what Grant Fuhr did out there as well as the rest of us. That's got to be frustrating after a while.
Well, it is, you know, and playing here in the Spectrum Ice, there's been a lot of bounces out there tonight, and, you know, it's probably the worst ice we've played on in a while, but you know, so there's been a lot of pucks bouncing, and you know, Grant Fuhr's, he's come up big again, and he played out unbelievable in the first 2 games of the series.
Tim, I got to ask you, and I know, you know, as a player, I would certainly understand if you took the party line on this, but if Edmonton wins this game, I mean, the 42 Leafs are the last team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in the finals. It's got to look pretty bleak.
Well, it definitely does. This is definitely a big game in the series, and Game 2 is a very big game, and the Flyers played really well, and we came up a little short, but things wouldn't look too good if we don't win tonight.
What about you now? You've been skating off and on. Would there be a chance that you would be available for Game 4?
It's a tough decision to make right now. I'd have to sit down and talk with the doctors and Pat Croce to decide if I would suit up or not. It hasn't responded like I thought it would last week, but who knows? There might be a chance.
Well, we know you're scheduled for off-season surgery. If we don't see you again, good luck with the surgery, and we'll see you next year. Hail and hearty.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Tim Kerr, the Philadelphia Flyers, our between periods guest. After one period, the story is the same, even though the venue is different. The Edmonton Oilers are on the board first, and they lead this game 2-0. I'll be back to chat with Bill Clement in just a moment.
Thank you, Tim.
The road to the Cup, the Stanley Cup Finals on ESPN is being brought to you by Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. And by McDonald's. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. The Flyers and Oilers are set for the second period. Let's go back up top of the spectrum to Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
4 power plays in the period, and on one of them a goal was scored. But it was a shorthanded goal by Mark Messier. His first at 4:14 from McTavish. Coffey from Gretzky and Curry at 19:51. The shots were 11-8 Philadelphia. They had 10 of the last 11 shots in the period, but the only Oilers shot in that cluster went in.
Yeah, the big names are back. Coffey scoring, Messier scoring, and I think the biggest key for the Oilers in that period, and we talked about it early, is that the first 10 minutes of the period, first half roughly, they knew the Flyers were going to come out with both barrels loaded and pointing right between their eyes and banking them all over the place. The Flyers did that. The Oilers were able to withstand the Flyers playing their kind of game. and still come out of the period with the lead. That's the big problem for the Flyers now. The Oilers are even able to lead when the Flyers are dictating the style.
Derek Smith lofts one high that is just hacked along by Anderson and then sent wide by Samuelsson. Rolled by Nielsen on to Messier. Up the wing for Anderson, but that denied by Marsh. And the puck touched by an Oiler at the bench. Even though it careened back into play, we have the whistle blown. Glenn Anderson, first round pick. Well, he should have been. He was a third round. I thought it was automatic a guy that good.
No, he was a surprise. Mark Messier wasn't even a first-round pick either. And if I'm not mistaken, they were both drafted in the same year. But they are two of the success stories. Anderson especially. He went to the University of Denver. He also played for the Canadian national team, played in the Olympics, and has, if not the best, some of the best balance in all of hockey. And it's a key ingredient that a lot of people that have never skated take for granted. Let me tell you, it's tough when somebody's leaning on you to stand up on those blades, on those single runners. And Glenn Anderson, at full speed, can take a big hit and still somehow maintain balance. That's what he's looked at as his best quality, balance and speed.
We erase our embarrassment by telling you it was Kevin Lowe who was the first pick that year. I guess we can't argue with that. Messier second and Anderson third. What an awful draft year that was for them.
Yeah,
79.
they came up dry, didn't they?
Pass ahead to Wayne Gretzky. But taking it is Howe. And Howe swings it back ahead. And Carson can't get a shot away. This one is checked back down by Jari Kurri. Teams are at even strength, and as a result, there's an icing call. Puck sent from the defensive side of the red line over the opposition end line, while the numerical strength is equal. Touched by a member of the opposition first, and back near the offending goaltender, it will be for the faceoff.
Once again, Wayne Gretzky. Marketing man's delight. His endorsement agent just has such an easy time. He's every mother's son, every teenage boy's brother, every father's son, and all the teenage girls and mothers kind of have a crush on the man. So he somehow ends up endorsing everything from tuxedos to tire irons. You see him all across Canadian television, and he does a lot of work in the United States as well.
Of the men you see at the bench, 15 of them have their name on the Stanley Cup. And there's only one Flyer, Chico Resch with the Islanders in 1980. Zezel on the face-off with Messier. Turning is Charlie Huddy, tied up by Prop. And still they work for it, each tying up the other stick. And Prop trying to work further, now able to step away. Gives over for a quick shot by Tuckett that saved. And the play made back out by the Oilers. It is Hextall setting up for Brad Marsh. Oh, and the stick of Hextall came up high, and that'll caught. Interference is the call. And Edmonton, with a 2-goal lead, will have a man advantage. The score, the Oilers 2 and the Flyers nothing. Ron Hextall penalized to the tune of 104 minutes during the regular season. Very active with the stick, and this time he's called for interference at 112.
Here's a look from a reverse angle again. You can see Peter Zezel and Mark Messier. They're watching Brian Prop, who's doing great work in the corner. He finally springs loose. Watch Messier, though. That's how you play solid defense. Don't even let him into the mess in front of the net. Pretty tough guy to get around when he gets a hold of you. Go back to the opening press conference before Game 1 in Edmonton, Mike. And Mark Messier was one of 3 Oilers that was invited to sit at the head table to answer questions. And he paraded out with this sweatshirt on. His chest is as square as his jaw. He's just such a strong guy. Strong on his skates. His balance is great. And physically, he's a bull.
It is Poulin trying to start ahead. Wedged by Charlie Huddy, but Poulin recovers. Gives it to Ron Sutter. Little pass for Howe. Couldn't get the shot it away. Brilliant play made by Charlie Huddy. Coffey to tie up Howe. Anderson watching, and finally the whistle of Don Koharski blown. Mark Howe, part of the WHA, as 4 of the Edmonton Oilers were. At one time he was with Houston. Said in the 1975 finals, they came off the ice in Quebec and there was a bailiff waiting to take all their uniforms. More on that in a second.
Oh, you're right about Charlie Huddy's play. Timing is so important, and Charlie Huddy took a swipe at Mark Howe just when he was going to release the shot. The great defensemen have that sense of timing. Of course, Howe knows how to do it defensively pretty well. That time he was a victim of Charlie Huddy's timing.
What had happened briefly is the CAHA said that the Houston Aeros were behind in their payments for developing players, so they had a bailiff to take away the uniforms. Anderson scores through the legs of Hextall. Power play goal, 3-0.
Ron Hextall will see this goal in his sleep for days to come. I really think Glenn Anderson fans on a shot, and Ron Hextall read it correctly, going for the shot. He tried to move it to his forehand to try and deke him, and misses it. Watch, he'll try and move it to his left, to our right there, and he misses it. And Hextall is going with the move. He makes the right play. Anderson flubs the deke and ends up getting a soft one on Ron Hextall. All the way from the Oilers zone. Once again, Messier hits him going through the middle. Boy, this line is taking over more and more. That's a tough break for Ron Hextall and a big break for the Oilers.
You know, if the flurry by the Oilers in this series continues, the people who make such decisions are going to have a hard time picking from Messier, Fuhr, and Gretzky for a Conn Smythe trophy.
I agree. We talked about Messier being a potential candidate, but let's not forget Glenn Anderson. Jari Kurri scored a lot of goals. Gretzky has played phenomenal hockey, and I agree with you, Grant Fuhr. But lest we speak too soon, we might want to point out that the Philadelphia Flyers have run into all kinds of obstacles from the day this season opened. They brought in Ron Hextall, then there was the Bob Froese controversy, and they ended up trading Bob Froese to New York. They were so injury plagued, and we don't have any precise statistics, but I would venture a guess that there could not have been one or two more teams in the NHL with more injuries than the Philadelphia Flyers. There's their record at home. They come into the playoffs, they faced adversity, even more injuries. Tim Kerr gone, Ron Sutter not there, Ilkka Sinisawa not there. They have arrived at this stage of the playoffs having faced a lot of adversity and having overcome every obstacle. I'm sure they're trying to tell themselves, gentlemen, this is just another obstacle. That's what Mike Keenan is doing. Come on, guys. We've done it before. We have to do it again.
It'll be McTavish and Carson on this faceoff. Samuelson trying to get to it, but it squirted away from him. Carson got it out, and then Greg threw it away. McClellan after it, and Carson has to turn back. They nearly give it up again, and Carson one-handedly to Samuelson is right in front. Hunter wrapping him up. Samuelson trying to fight his way off.
And Samuelson at this point, you know, Mike, and all through that sequence, everybody's booing because they thought Hunter should have a penalty. Samuelson had a hold of Hunter's stick.
And he had it turned so that Don Koharski couldn't see.
Right. Koharski didn't go for it. Watch this. See if we can pick it up. At this point, Samuelson there to see the right hand. Now he goes to his own stick, and then he goes back to Hunter's. So for at least part of that sequence, Samuelson was switching sticks. I think he'd get a lot better shot away with his own, especially since he's a right-hand shot. You know, speaking of sticks, at this time of year, Mike, the guys outside the locker room, and you've walked by them, they're tweaking their sticks. It's like a work of art. They have torches curving, they have rasps, sandpaper, saws, they're working them into shape. This time of year, more than any time of year, players are so particular about the lumber that they use on the ice.
Mentioned something about Gretzky's stick here in the second, but meanwhile, the puck goes off of Brad Marsh, who falls. He recovers and is able to swing it away from McTavish. McTavish hooked at by Murray Craven. That gives Marsh a chance to play. Stanley can't clear out, and the puck kept along by Hunter. Bumped loose by Marsh, and it's handled by Dave Brown and scooped on to Craven. Pass tipped off of Marsh, and deep to get it is Ruotsalainen. McTavish shovels it along. McClellan hit hard and high, though. Still they battle, and Dave Brown trying to peel it away does. Brown with a stiff pass over to Samuelson. Flings one, and that an easy grab for Grant Fuhr. Did your stick ever shorten from the front of the ear to the end, Bill?
No, but I could never get it to score.
Gretzky's has by 4 inches, but that's a story for another time. The score of our game here in Philadelphia. The Oilers 3 and the Flyers nothing.
The pensive look of a hockey scientist. We briefly saw Mike Keenan, coach of the Flyers.
This is Gretzky working for Messier. Mark Howe watching him. Stick checks it away. Brad McCrimmon takes over. Howe has been plagued by a Charlie horse in this series. We should make mention of that because the Oilers were really working on him, trying to force him to make any move which might cause pain in Game 2. But they have been unable to force any embarrassing mistakes here in the third game. The Oilers are leading the game 3-0 in case you're just joining us. 16-15 to go in the second period. Oilers with the lead in the best-of-7 series, 2-0. Ron Sutter puts it on Pure, and then is boomed to the boards by Craig Muni. Puck taken by Curry. He has Gretzky ahead on his right, and the other winger is Tikkanen, but he'll not play to either of them. Instead, this will be Hextall just watching as Mellanby plays. Scott Mellanby, ahead at center. Has Brad Marsh to give to, but Marsh didn't see the pass, and here's a chance for Curry. Samuelsson trying to defend, and carries him off the play. On with this is Gretzky. Feeds it through to Jari Kurri. Checked by Carson. Puck to Tikkanen. Moves toward the front. Forced off by Marsh, and the play misses for Curry. Kjell Samuelsson connects on to Carson for the toss-in. Shift change now. Tocchet and Derek Smith come out to be centered by Peter Zezel. Oilers with a pass that is taken by Kent Nielsen. Nielsen just sliding one that will be gathered in by Big Kjell Samuelsson as the Oilers bring out Anderson and Messier. Randy Gregg has come out on the Oiler defense to be joined with Charlie Huddy. And it is Pure flipping. Derek Smith may have gotten a piece of that one. They rule it wasn't a high stick nonetheless. And Zezel flips to Howe. Hit the goal post with the shot. Huddy flips one back out. Flyers again have a break that winds up being the goal post, but down on the ice now is Randy Gregg of the Oilers. Peter Miller, the physical therapist and trainer for the Oilers, is out tending to him.
He's hurting. I wonder if it's his shoulder.
Clutching around the throat now, but that may be just a tuck-in to try to protect from pain elsewhere in the upper body.
See if we can pick him up here. I believe he's right at the lower part of your screen with Rick Tocchet. Well, that's Huddy dumping the puck out. I'm not sure that we ever did see what happened to Randy Gregg. He was in front of the net with Rick Tocchet. Well, he's up on his own power. That's a good sign for the Oilers. The man that retired before the season started and then came back out of retirement, missed the game, is going to go into practice medicine. He is an MD. And Glenn Sather, Mike, for most of the year has said Randy Gregg has been our best defenseman. That did look like he was grabbing his throat. I wonder if he didn't get a bit of stick up in the Adam's apple area. Boy, that'll constrict your throat in a big hurry.
Peter Miller working on him now down at the bench, just checking to see if he's all right. Yes, in case you're wondering, Gregg has tended to injured players on the ice before in practice. But here is Anderson turning away from Zezel. Moving back out now on a 3-on-3. The pass too far for Nielsen and shot by Marsh. A leaping Messier can't control, and it's Tocchet. Ahead now to Zezel. Yanks it away and fires one that went off Craig Muni. Angled back by Anderson. Kjell Samuelsson can't control, nor can Kent Nielsen, but he moves after it and punches it away from Marsh and took the hit. 14-15 to go, second period. Glad you're with us tonight on ESPN. Game 3, best of 7. Oilers lead in the series 2-0. In the game, 3-0. Marsh preoccupied with an Oiler, and that's why the Flyers have to try to rag it. Delayed offside now. Kevin Lowe just floats one in front. If the Oilers move out, or if the Flyers clear the zone and try to come back in, the whistle won't be blown, but that didn't happen, so it was.
As we look at the back of Rick Tocchet, Mike, a lot was made. A lot of people tried to make something of the quality of ice here at the Spectrum compared to the Northlands Coliseum. Most players admit that the ice here is inferior to the Northlands Coliseum, and that the Oilers have an advantage playing on good ice because they're such slick, finesse-type players, and they really felt that it would be a disadvantage to play here and that it would favor the Flyers because of their more defensive style. Well, when I thought that most of the people were missing the big point, and that is the one thing about bad ice is it's tough to play catch-up hockey on. So I really didn't feel that it favored either team unless one ended up with the lead. Now the Oilers have a 2-0, 3-0 lead. And you know that by the time this game is over, it's going to be tougher and tougher each minute for the Flyers to come back on and move that puck around.
Just the second and third shots of the period for the Oilers. The shots are 15-11 Philadelphia. But the goals are 3-0 Edmonton, as trying to stop that is Craven. But he can't even get a pass ahead until after he's checked, and it's moved to Poulin. Poulin drops to Propp with a shot. That blocked off. Propp cradles, tries to center, but it just ricocheted off Paul Coffey and can be brought back by McClellan. The most impressive Flyer chance of this period was Mark Howes. He was right out in front and ringed one off the left post. 12:55 to go in this second period. As ahead comes Dave Brown. Feeds over to Stanley. Stanley tried to pull it back for the shot and couldn't. McClellan there to defend against him along with Charlie Huddy, and the two of them converge once more. This time it's Brown moving in. Rolling it behind, and Eklund couldn't take. So it is Huddy angling, and it's brought further by the Oilers. A pass, though, misses for Paul Coffey, and is handled by the Flyer defense and Mark Howe. Headman pass to Eklund, who directed, and Fuhr just shuttles to Coffey. Bank for McClellan, and a toss out is near Howe. Howe flipping back along. Darryl Stanley turning with it. Stanley and Brown are the wingers on this line. Howe rolling back to McCrimmon, and the Flyers forced deeper by Krushelnyski's checking. Howe again misses for Stanley. It's set up for Stanley by Eklund, who spun one in, but we get a stoppage of play. And Kevin Collins, pointing in the direction of the penalty box, has indicated to Don Koharski that there may be a too many men on the ice penalty, and he was looking at the Oilers and now is explaining that to him. The score of our game, the Oilers 3 and the Flyers nothing. Too many men on the ice. Serving it, Esa Tikkanen. And it comes at 7:58, so the power plays are even at 3. The Oilers have scored 1 for 3, 4, and 1 for 3 against. In the series, Philadelphia 0 for 7. Now starting power play number 8. Mike Keenan, who won an American League championship in Rochester, something that team is trying to do in the American Hockey League Finals. 7th game tomorrow night in Sherbrooke against Montreal and Winnipeg's farm team, the Sherbrooke Canadians. But he has seen Messier and Coffey score in the first for the Oilers, Anderson in the second, and the Oilers ahead 3-0. Zezel, Eklund, and Dave Poulin out on the power play. It is Propp along with Mark Howe back. From the tie-up, it is Muni working with low on defense as they clear. Nielsen and Messier, the two forwards. Brian Propp nodded with Kelly Eklund for the scoring lead. After having some difficulty early in these playoffs, he's come on strong. Muni wraps it around. It's played by Poulin. Wants to work it to Propp, but that doesn't go. So it's Peter Zezel sliding it back to Propp. Drive, and that ricochets off low in front. Howe loses to Muni, and it's on to Nielsen with 1:20 to go on the power play. Here's Kent Nielsen moving in, right in front. Save made by Hextall.
Oh. You know that Kent Nielsen picked up on the fact that he had a forward back there to beat. It was Brian Propp, and when Nielsen cut in front of him, Propp made a good play, and Nielsen makes a good play. Watch Nielsen blow by him. Now, Propp will hook him, but Nielsen won't try to get the shot away until after the hook. He waits. He knows he's going to get a shot. The one thing he didn't gamble on, or count on at least, was Mark Howe coming back and taking him. Watch Propp hook him, and Nielsen waits. There's the hook, and he waits, and then Mark Howe has a chance to get him. I tell you, when a guy like Ken Nielsen gets the puck, his eyes get real big when he looks up and sees a number that he doesn't recognize as being a defenseman's number back there. It's a real golden opportunity to wheel and deal.
You know, he's one of the few Oilers who's been snake-bitten in this series. He still doesn't have a point in it, but boy, had he performed up till now.
He could be one of their leading scorers. He could be, in this series, easily their leading scorer with the chances that he's had.
Plus 12 overall, and he has in 16 games 18 points. McTavish in for the face-off with Derek Smith, and Tocchet taps back to J.J. Daigneault. Daigneault, who sustained an injured foot in the New York Rangers series, hadn't played since until tonight's game. Puck tipped along now, and Tocchet is there. Rolling it along to Sutter. Oh, hit hard on the play, but still continues to work. Tocchet trying to play. Another brush check by Muni as Tocchet gets in front. Backhander score on the deflection.
The Flyers persevere, and that's a word that's used to describe them often. Right off the shaft of the stick. Looks like Murray Craven, that's who it is, standing to the side of the net. Kevin Lowe goes down. And you know, I think that might have been a double deflection. Once off Lowe's stick and up off the shaft of Craven's stick. But Rick Tocchet was the workman on the job. He did the spade work that got the shot away, and that words like determination and perseverance. Something's got Glenn. Somebody slipped a burr under Glenn Sader's saddle. He's upset. See if we can see if Kevin Lowe actually gets a piece of this. Sutter too. Great work in the corner. Here comes Tocchet. Down goes Lowe. Sure, it hits Lowe, right up off of Lowe, then off of Craven's shaft. Have to call that a break for the Flyers.
Here's Huddy, stepped into by Lindsey Carson. Still the puck loose, and along with it, it is Howe in front, and that one wound up going off Mellanby. Playing it now is Jari Kurri. Taps one along that's carried by Paul Coffey. Howe and McCrimmon close ranks. Gretzky feeds it back to Huddy. Hurries one in front, and that goes off Tikkanen. Mellanby defending with him. Tikkanen spins one, but Hextall flips it along, and it's taken by Scott Mellanby. Moving out with it is Derek Smith. Tried to send one for Ron Sutter. Moving in is McCrimmon. Bats it for Sutter. Nice play made by Coffey. Then angles one that is taken by Kurri out in front. Gretzky moving side by side with Kurri. The winger is Tikkanen. Save made by Hextall. And Marsh tries to nudge it further, then chops at the stick of Tikkanen. Flyers have picked up some fire here. Tikkanen tries to get it to Gretzky. Nice little lead. It's Ruotsalainen turning with it. Dishes off for Wayne Gretzky. Then it's back to Tikkanen. Tikkanen controlling back to the point. A shot, and that just directed back out by Hextall. Randy Gregg rolls it behind for Kurri. Kurri feeds. Hustled by Ruotsalainen. Gretzky fans. And the play made by Brad Marsh. For Tocchet, but off his skate. He was dragging the skate, so it wouldn't have been a two-line pass. He succeeded there, but there wasn't control, so the Flyers drop in. Randy Gregg with 9:20 to go in this second period, and his team ahead in the game, 3-1. Tocchet takes over for Philadelphia. Back on the wing. Drive by Carson, and Fuhr answers that. Ruotsalainen up for Gretzky. Can't take the pass. Oilers making a change in line as it's Marsh. On for Tocchet. Then to Brian Propp. Propp with a shot just wide. And around it swirls, and Samuelsson was able to keep it. Then to Tocchet. Finesses to Propp in front. Hit the side of the net with a shot. Propp tries the other side. Leaned on by Messier's stick. How a turnarounder deflected away by Fuhr. There'll be a penalty coming up for the Oilers. Sixth attacker is on. Brian Propp tripped up. Puck touched by Messier. A holding call. And it'll be a power play to Philadelphia. 8:37 to go. Second period, 3-1 Edmonton.
What a display of spectrum hockey from a Flyers standpoint, Mike. I've seen it so many times in here. Used to be a part of it, and when it gets going fast and hard enough, you end up taking a penalty against the Flyers. That's what Ruotsalainen had to do. Look at them jam in front of Grant Fuhr. Just watch the net. There was Ruotsalainen pulling down Peter Zezel. You know, in scoring the last goal, the Flyers got a power play goal. They had gone 364 minutes in the playoffs leading up to that goal without one. That's the equivalent of 6 hockey games. Sure, there was some overtime in there, but what a long stretch. If they can get that going against the Oilers, what a plus.
They are 1 for 3 tonight, going on their 4th. By the way, the scoring on the Philadelphia power play goal, Craven is second, first of the series from Tocchet and Sutter at 9:04. And it is Zezel to center for Tocchet on the right, Eklund on the left. Drops the right point, on the left point, Mark Howe. Messier and McTavish working for the Oilers up front. Pocket gets it. Works it back to Brian Propp. Fakes, tries to finesse McTavish. Propp guides it off. Centering pass comes to Howe. Wrist shot. Popped high in the air. And it's taken by Propp and guided to Eklund. Then it's set up for Howe again. Shot blocked off. And making that play was Mark Messier. Zezel centers. And it'll be Propp to take it at the point. Then to Howe. Knocked from his stick. Able to foist it through, but off Zezel. Kevin Lowe on defense. Shuffles it along to Messier. Messier clears. Bud keeps this action going so you can enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals. For all you do this, Bud's for you. Craven breakaway. Wide. And they have indicated, we did not hear the whistle, the players didn't either, that the play was offside. It was an offside pass and no one heard, and Ron Finn had to blow the whistle the second time.
But they had their chances even before that whistle down play. Mark Howe made a couple of great transitions and a great pass here to Craven that was subsequently whistled offside. Wow, he just got a piece of it. But the Flyers had 2 or 3 excellent scoring chances before that one by Craven, or the non-chance. I'm wondering if that's not the best chance they're going to get on this power play. You know, when you look back at the series so far, and take a look at the quality chances. Somehow my mind keeps coming back to the quality chances and how the Oilers have been able to put them away and how the Flyers haven't. I don't think Hextall has played any poorer than Pure or vice versa. Just take a look at the Edmonton roster and check out the snipers.
And Messier certainly made a big sacrifice because there's no Flyer more deadly with the wrist shot virtually from anywhere in the attack zone than Howe, and he was out in the slot, right in the money area. Craven, Zezel centers, tipped for Howe, tries to get it in front, hacks at it again, bouncing puck, and they try to muscle it in, and the puck is held somewhere, but the net dislodged, and that's what brought about the whistle, and now the exchange after. Pure was able to keep it on the outside in all of that pileup.
Yeah, he was standing there with his legs perfectly tight together. Here's a look from our super slow-mo. It's on the other side. Howe gets a piece of this in midair. Watch. There it is. He tips it towards Grant Fuhr. Now, you can't see, but Grant Fuhr's pads are perfectly parallel, tight. Look down. You'll see it in the skates. Craven tries to get a piece of it, but by this time, boy, is that traces of against Montreal when we picked it up from our super slow-mo camera when Ilka Sinisalo slid in that overtime goal? That's what the Flyers have to do. That's get it in tight, just get the shot on Grant Fuhr and then jam for the rebounds. When a goalie is that hot, you're left little option. Take away his vision by jamming the front of the net, jam the puck into him as best you can, and then charge. And that's what the Flyers do very well, and it's even more important for them to continue doing that as well as Grant Fuhr is playing him. They're not going to beat him on the pretty shot. At least we haven't seen any evidence of him being weak on anything that he can see. You got to take away his vision.
Best 2 teams from the regular season are also the teams that have survived to this round. And we have seen splendid goaltending on ESPN. Boy, you harken back 5 weeks ago, Mason and Rudy. We've seen Hextall against other opponents and against the Edmonton Oilers. Grant Fuhr, triple save in the first game, in the first period, as Propp fires one wide. And it is McTavish having Messier moving ahead. McTavish will carry in himself. Nice poke check by Brian Propp. 38 seconds left power play. In with the puck is Zezel. Feeds it over. Hurried shot by Tocchet, blocked off by Fuhr. Propp dishes it back around. Zezel wanted to center but couldn't. Still trying to muscle it along in his feet. Craven to Howe, quickly tapped to Propp. Then over to Zezel once more. Spirits it back to Howe, and it's off his skate and out. Penalty time is down to just 15 seconds now on the Oilers. And Howe hurries for Ron Sutter, but even a pass that he had sized up that much before he made goes awry. Sent along now for Carson. Shift change Oilers out of the penalty box to make that check. Ruotsalainen, so the team's back at full strength as Fuhr slugs it along for Curry, punched loose by Sutter. Rolled right back along to Ron Sutter, tried to center, but Coffey was in the way. Still they work on one another. Ron Sutter for Mellanby, but it's chipped away. And striding back for it, Kjell Samuelsson. 6:15 to go in the second period. 3-1, the Oilers ahead. The play made to Ron Sutter. Tries to finesse by Coffey after he rolled it through, but it's Bure's puck to play. Off Marsh. Mellenby fed the point, but it ricocheted off Gretzky, and chasing it down is Ron Sutter. Sutter just banks one back along. Taken by Huddy and thrown in. Play will continue. No offside there. 5:50 remaining in this period. I just noticed, Bill, that Gretzky did not look like he was skating too well, and he's fast. And that's perhaps because of the ice problem we mentioned earlier. Curry swings it ahead. It's off Brad Marsh and in. The shots are 23 Philadelphia. That's 12 in this period. 14 Edmonton, only 6 in this period. But the Oilers leading the game by 2. Curry for Gretzky, quickly directed in front and nearly stashed home by McTavish. Play made back out. Thrown back along, and it is Esa Tikkanen. Tikkanen swinging it on back with 5:10 left. Turning with it is Wayne Gretzky. Drops it back to Lowe, and we have a slashing call as Tikkanen daubing around his forehead. The slash goes to Tikkanen. Oh. And so for the 3rd time in succession, Philadelphia will get a power play opportunity on an Oiler penalty. Tikkanen on the slash.
He was holding his nose, and you could see that there was a blood spot on the side of his nose. And we had to figure, after he threw us one curve, we both thought he was Craig McTavish with his helmet off. We'll try and pick it up here. Wow, he gets the stick up on Dave Poulin, but it also looked as if he was wincing at the same time. Self-inflicted wound? I don't know.
Maybe had the ambush set and got ambushed himself, just by himself.
Got a 4-inch cut in his cheek. Nothing that a little squirt of water won't fix up.
Well, Philadelphia, which has had some fire here in the period, most recently set down on the minor penalty to Ruotsalainen, have another power play to work on with Tikkanen slashing at 14:52. On comes Craven. Then to Zezel. A shot ricocheted off Lowe. Spun around, but Propp is waiting. What will his play be? It handcuffs Zezel. Craven and Lowe go after it. And side of the net, Tocchet fed it in front. Zezel centers. Oh, and it was loose in front, and Don Koharski says a goal. The light isn't on, but it counts.
Sure does. And a decisive Don Koharski called it. I really think Grant Fuhr put this one in himself. Zezel makes just an outstanding recovery with his skate. The puck is going by him, but the soccer player that Peter Zezel is, plays in the offseason, used to play very competitive soccer. It's either off Fuhr or off his defenseman. Well, we'll get our super slow-mo into the act. Zezel made the great stop with his skate. Here it comes in front. Looks like it's off Muni, doesn't it? Koharski had to be in the right spot. That thing didn't go over the line but for an inch. And you know that as soon as Muni's stick comes over it, the goal judge who's sitting behind the net, there's Koharski calling it, the goal judge's view is blocked by the fact that Muni's stick is behind the puck pulling it out. So it's a good thing Koharski was exactly where he was supposed to be. Hey, Flyers are back.
Zezel given credit for the goal. It's a power play goal, and the team that seemed down earlier in this period, 3-0, is back in it 3-2. And boy, is the crowd ever back in it again. Brad Marsh fires, save Fuhr, and he's going to cover. 4:17 left in the second. Thundering ovation at the Spectrum. Oilers 3, Flyers 2.
One more reverse angle look at the goal that has got the Flyers right back in off of Craig Muni's stick. Uh-oh. See Muni, he's looking around to see if anybody saw it. He knows that it's in.
Here's Mark Messier, ridden off and boomed to the glass by Samuelson. McSorley there taken right out of the play by the much smaller Dave Poulin. Marsh then on to Brian Propp. Has Poulin moving ahead, but good work done by Krushelnyski to take it back. Brad Marsh trying to wedge him out of the play and is able to stalemate him, but still they're battling, and the centering pass is held by Hextall. Strength against strength. 3:46 to go in the second. Oilers 3, Flyers 2.
Perseverance and determination. Look at that score, 3-2. Those two Flyer goals both came as a result of some good determination and perseverance, and we use those words so often to describe how the Flyers play.
Playing for the Flyers on this face-off will be Zezel opposite McTavish, and he won it cleanly. Hextall sets up for Brad McCrimmon. Puck rolled around to Zezel, wanted to work it up the wing. Now must carry himself. Dogged by Randy Gregg. Down he goes. The fans want what would have been the fourth straight power play, but they'll not get it. McCrimmon with 3.5 minutes to go in this second period. Forces Randy Gregg back to take this. Boomed off by Zezel's shoulder check. Trying to fight free. Everyone canceling everyone, and Howe flips one that's gloved down. Back on come the Oilers. Mike Krushelnyski starting ahead. Spins it for McTavish. McTavish waiting to Krushelnyski. Pad stop made by Hextall. Krushelnyski tries to center, but fans. Tocchet gives up. Coffey drive deflected away, and then Hextall traps it on the bounce. Wonderful action here in the second.
Hextall saves the bacon again. Marty McSorley has a great chance to put this one home if Hextall doesn't stop it with his left pad. I think this is the sequence here. Look at McSorley, the right of your screen, 33. He had Derek Smith behind him and was cutting through, and Hextall once again does what's the impossible, I guess. It seems the impossible from up here, and it's probably the impossible for 999 people out of 1,000, but an NHL goalie has cat-like reflexes. At least these two guys do. Fuhr and Hextall.
Wayne Gretzky back on for Edmonton. We had mentioned his shortened stick. He cuts it by as many as 4 inches less at this time of year than he does in the fall. And he says the reason for that is that he is in better condition by the spring, and he has sharper reflexes, so he doesn't need as much reach with the stick. What do you think, Bill?
I think only Wayne Gretzky could get away with it. Here's another save by Hextall. Well, my stick definitely changed from the beginning of my career till the end. I could never get it to score, but there's a story of embarrassment, too, quickly. You know, players run to their sticks when they first get them. They're excited. They're like kids. Gary Dornhofer ran to his 3 dozen sticks one year that just came in. They were curved left, and he was a right-hand shot. Life's embarrassing moments. He'd been in the league for 6 years, and they sent him left-hand curves, and he's a right-hand shot.
Tikkanen and Samuelson encroaching on the face-off. That's why Don Koharski lectures. This one is won from Gretzky by Ron Sutter. Sutter off of Jari Kurri, can start ahead with it. 2:50 left in the second period. 3-2 the Oilers. Sutter rolls it through. Mellanby trying to get to it, and Tikkanen checks him off. Coffey paws away at Sutter, so he can't get to it. And it's handled off the bounce by Kurri, and then on quickly to Tikkanen. Works on Marsh. The drop is to Gretzky. Feeds it to Coffey, and the drive is well off the mark. Mellanby turning in the final 2.5 of the period. Got help from Samuelson, but the give is to Gretzky. Flips it, and Tikkanen has to chase. Samuelson lining him up. And Tikkanen sees the third man come by as he falls. That's Carson. Ron Sutter trying to finesse, just dogged by Oilers all around. And help came from Mellanby, but we get a stoppage of play, and it'll be a high sticking call.
And it'll be on Ron Sutter. And his heart very simply overruled his head. You were talking about him under pressure, and he was under pressure. Jari Kurri was doing a great job of tying him up and persevering, and Ron Sutter just took enough and hit the boiling point. Here's Lindsey Carson dumping it up. Watch the work Sutter does, but he finally lets his heart overrule his head. He gets angry. There's Gretzky, there's Kurri. There it comes, just as we were losing him. He took his stick and wrapped it right across Jari Kurri's chest, right in front of Don Koharski.
Cameras are all over the spectrum, recording this from different angles. We'll get a better look here.
That was the swat. After the fact, there was a second swat that he took at him. Koharski let go of the first one, but you can see how close the head referee was, standing right behind the action. Right where he's supposed to be.
There you see 7-year man in the Flyer organization, Lindsey Carson at the bench. Philadelphia for the shorthand situation. This will be the 4th time they've been shorthanded tonight. We'll have Zezel and Craven, Marsh and Samuelson.
What a nice opportunity for the Oilers, and at the same time, a crucial problem for the Flyers. They've fought back. They're to within 1. You'd have to think now that if the Oilers can capitalize on this power play, the way they're able to clamp down, they never were able to for years. Now they can seem to clamp down. I have to think it's crucial for the Flyers here. They have to withstand this power play.
This comes late in the second period, 2:11 to go. Now the point men for Edmonton will be Ruotsalainen on the right, Gregg on the left once they get it set. But when you have Messier working out now along with Glenn Anderson and Nielsen, it may not need to get set the way they have such free flow in moving in. Ruotsalainen along to Nielsen, then back to Ruotsalainen, hands over to Randy Gregg. Feeds it across, and that tip because they had Nielsen all set up in the opposite side for a quick cash in. Ruotsalainen hands to Gregg. Back again to Ruotsalainen. In the final 90 seconds of the period, 1:15 to go on the power play. Messier loses it off his stick, and the puck tipped out of play, and they indicate a center ice face-off to result. So Ron Hextall, who made a big save when it might have been 4-2, has kept the score at 3-2. Mark Messier, you just saw there, had the first goal of the night shorthanded, then Coffey, then Anderson, then 2 Flyer goals, Craven and Zezel.
He certainly has stepped out from behind Wayne Gretzky's shadow, hasn't he? He's an entrepreneur up in Edmonton, has 3 clothing stores. His sales girls got me for a pair of jeans at the top when we were there earlier this week. Largest mall in the world, West Edmonton Mall. And Mark Messier has a store appropriately called Number 11. He also has a downtown store. He knows the trick. Get good salespeople in there.
Have Messier now for the faceoff along with Dave Poulin. With 1:25 to go in this period. Gretzky rolls, and it is brushed by Poulin. Tries to get the return pass from Propp, but it'll be Charlie Huddy's play to make. Huddy turning, bothered from behind by the checking of Poulin, but the Oilers can control. They have 55 seconds to go on this man advantage. Messier playing it for Glenn Anderson, but it's under his stick, and so out to handle is Hextall. Hextall flips it back off the glass to Poulin. Has Propp ahead, but gives cross ice to Mark Howe in flight. Howe with a wrist shot, blocked off by Coffey. Oilers still unable to control, and the Flyers doing a good job thus far in the power play. Half a minute to go in it. Paul Coffey starts to fly. Derek Smith forces him back. Now the give is to Tikkanen. Along to Jari Kurri, who steps on Brad Marsh and then waits. The play is to Coffey. Looks for Tikkanen. Feeds it, and it came to Gretzky. Set up for Charlie Huddy. 10 seconds left, man advantage. Coffey waiting. Feeds one, tipped wide by Tikkanen. Charlie Huddy to play. Wrapping it through Tikkanen to Gretzky. 10 seconds left in the period. Kurri, a shot saved by Hextall. Rebound cleared. Onside is Ron Sutter, but Grant Fuhr pushes it away. And the period will come to a close 1 second from now. A delayed offside was whistled down by the linesman Kevin Collins, and so there'll be what will amount to a ceremonial center ice faceoff to end this period, Bill.
And they've weathered the storm. Great job by the Flyers. It wasn't without Ron Hextall's help once again. They had a quality scoring opportunity that Jari Kurri had. Both teams have been called upon to make some pretty good defensive plays. There's Anderson. He got so used to cutting through the middle in game 2. He just thinks he can do it anytime he wants, but not against McCrimmon and Howe.
The Philadelphia Flyers come off trailing in this game by 1. In the second period, they had 14 shots. The Oilers had 10.
Great period for the Flyers. If you're sitting in the Flyers locker room, you have to be very, very happy, and I know Mike Keenan is. We'll see if the Flyers can play spectrum hockey in the third.
Mike Keenan says the Oilers are superb at holding a lead in the third period. The question looms, can they do it in this game 3? 3-2 Oilers.
We're at second intermission from the Spectrum in Philly. Edmonton Oilers leading this one 3-2 over the Flyers, seeking to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the series. I'm Tom Mees. I'm downstairs in our studios. In our upstairs studios is Bill Clement. And Bill, when Glenn Anderson scored in the front half of that second period, it was a very big goal for Edmonton. And realistically, a lot of people couldn't be excused for putting the Flyers out at that point.
Well, we actually up here started talking about the Conn Smythe winner and mentioning that Glenn Anderson was in the running, as was Grant Fuhr, Mark Messier, and Wayne Gretzky. But the Flyers definitely closed the gap. Let's take a look at how this all shapes up. We talked about speed through the neutral zone and how you have to take that away from the Oilers. The Flyers didn't. That's why Anderson busted all the way through and actually missed his shot. Hextall reacted correctly and ended up getting burnt even though he reacted correctly.
And from that point on, the Philadelphia Flyers snatched the momentum away from Edmonton. Murray Craven with a goal and Peter Zezel, both of them of the unusual variety, Bill.
Well, you'll take them any way you can get them, and it was a double deflection. Murray Craven's goal was, and it was interesting to note that there were a couple of blockers and jammers on the ice. There was Tocchet out there, along with Ron Sutter and Murray Craven. That's not a really potent power play unit when you look at it, but it certainly worked for the Flyers, and it took a lot of hard work by all of them. Ron Sutter especially, who ends up in the corner taking a beating from behind. Here he is with Huddy all over him. He'll hit him once. Watch this cross-check right here. He bangs him, but Sutter makes the play and concentrates. It comes out off of Lowe and then off of Craven. Here's the Peter Zezel goal now, and Rick Tocchet again does great work. Zezel, excellent footwork. Craig Muni taps it. And as we mentioned when this happened, Don Koharski was right there to call it. He comes into the play. Muni starts to argue with him, but to no avail. When Don Koharski turns and looks at the player that's arguing with him and gets right in his face, you know Koharski's right.
Yes, he was very decisive on that play, Bill Clement. And once again, our slow-mo reverse angle really showed that to perfection. Well, that's it for this edition of the Coke Scoreboard on Road to the Cup. We're just about set for the third period of play between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Edmonton Oilers. For the third period, let's go back upstairs to the gentleman who will call the play, Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
All right, Tom, thank you. No penalties to carry over into this period, so there'll be no power play at the start. But in the second period, it was 2-0 at the start. Anderson made it 3-0 for the Oilers from Messier and Coffey. Then Craven and Zezel answered for Philadelphia. Craven on the power play while the Oilers were being boxed for too many men. And Zezel while Tikkanen was off for a slash. Zezel's goal unassisted.
You know, Mike, in Game 2, we talked about the Flyers' great record in the playoffs when leading after 2. They're 9-0. They were 9-0 until the Oilers came back and tied them and beat them. And, you know, the Oilers entering the third period with the lead in the playoffs are 7-0. They've yet to be defeated when they've led after 2. Wonder if we'll see a reversal tonight.
Philadelphia has been in 6 games and trailed at the end of 2, and they are 1-5. And the first check of the period was from Shell Samuelson. Here's Nielsen moving in. Oh, and just missed Lowe with the pass. Shell Samuelson banks one firmly ahead and gets it to Zezel, but is passed up. And Nielsen goes back to lend some help to Craig Muni. Back up for Nielsen, but checked by Tocchet. On now they come, and Nielsen moves in, but the play is offside.
For the Cup, the Stanley Cup Finals on ESPN is being brought to you by Volvo, a car you can believe in. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by the Norelco Electric Rotatrack Razor. Norelco, we put quality first. 3-2 Edmonton. Let's go back to Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
You know, the Oilers, should they not be able to hold this lead, would end up busting a couple of goose eggs. We mentioned that they're 7-0 when leading after 2 periods. They also haven't been defeated on the road in the playoffs so far. So they got a couple of statistics for those of you who are numbers-minded in their favor right now.
Oilers enter this one having lost 1 of their last 15 playoff games. Carson over to Mellanby. Drive, and no matter. Offside is called on the play. 48 seconds gone here in the third. The Oilers leading the Flyers 3-2. Along with Tom Mees and Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. The series is 2-0 Edmonton, winning both games at the Northlands Coliseum.
There's one of my young favorites on the Flyers team, Scott Mellanby. Tough kid. His dad's a busy man right now. He has been the executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada for many years, but actually stepped up to coordinate all of the television coming from the Winter Olympics that are upcoming in Calgary, Ralph Mellanby. So Mellanby family very well aware of what's going on TV-wise.
Carson's shot is wide. Tikkanen can't clear. McCrimmon, a shot that was tipped en route by Ron Sutter. Little finesse by Gretzky, and it was handled by Carson, who took a swat from Curry, but gave to McCrimmon. Then for Mellanby, but the pass was across 2 lines.
You know, Mike, we haven't made much of the matchups tonight. I think we haven't bothered to because the matchups weren't that crucial in Edmonton. Mike Keenan didn't go out of his way to try and match anybody special with Wayne Gretzky, other than trying to perhaps keep Eklund's line from getting out there against him. But tonight, with the home ice change, he's been able to keep Ron Sutter out there most of the time. And although Sutter hasn't followed him around, you can't say that Sutter has shadowed him. He's done a pretty effective job with his help from his teammates. He's held Wayne Gretzky to only 1 shot on goal. Gretzky had 14 attempted shots on goal in Game 1. He was all over the ice, but they've kept him in check much better tonight.
Turning with this is McTavish, but falls. Still tries to play, and with it, McSorley to Krushelnyski, who shot it wide. Gregg turns one across the goal mouth, and this will be Propp ahead and across 2 lines to Dave Poulin. Early in the third, 3-2 Edmonton. Phil, do you think Edmonton is going to play it cozy here?
Well, I don't think they're going to intentionally do it, Mike, and I don't think the Flyers did it that much intentionally the other night, but you instinctively try and protect the lead. It's something that you can't avoid. It just happens. But if the Flyers want to try and open it up and gamble a little bit, the one problem they'll have against the Edmonton Oilers is the Oilers have such firepower. All it takes is 1 defensive lap, and the Flyers are 2 goals behind and not 1 goal behind.
Boy, we saw what defensive problems can cause in Game 2 when the Flyers were leading 2-1 going into the third. Played so carefully, seemed to have everything so much in tow, but you just can't play carefully enough. Around it is to Dave Poulin, pestered by McTavish, hit hard though by McSorley. And on now with it, it is Craven working to McCrimmon, and McCrimmon just surrounded by Oilers, still able to fidget it along, but the play made by McTavish. Dumps it off for Glenn Anderson, but it's punched away by Marsh. Anderson outreached him. McTavish goes over it, and he and McCrimmon cancel one another. Outlet pass is on to Brian Propp. Drive! Oh, and that caused Fuhr to bail out. It is Marsh behind for Brian Propp, but it shanked off his skate. In comes Tocchet to muscle it along. He and Muni tie up. Down goes Tocchet. The play is Kevin Lowe. Little hand on to Anderson, then up the wing to Mark Messier. Messier dishes off, hoping for Anderson, but instead getting Propp. It is Muni with 17:10 to go, third period, Game 3. 3-2 Oilers. Nielsen a shot, and it's tipped out of play by Brad Marsh. Wonder if Marsh ever wanted to be a goaltender. The way he drops in front of shots, the way he uses his stick to poke check as well as deflect.
There's a guy that never wanted to be a goalie. He just wanted to be a goal scorer. Kent Nilsson. We'll get this one. The reverse angle shows Brad Marsh just getting it with the hosel, or the lower shaft of his stick.
What was that?
The hosel. It's part of a golf club.
Oh.
Oh, we're getting to the end of the hockey season. Can you tell? I'm using golf terms.
Bud keeps the action going so you can enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals. Cleveland, Tennessee to Pittsburgh, Vermont. Hoopa, California to Saudi, Daisy, Tennessee. Wherever you're watching the game, for all you do across this great land of ours, this Bud's for you. Peter Zezel for the face-off with Messier. Choked down on the hosel, ready for the draw. Now Hextall straightens up as there's a delay. Coffey comes in because his stick blade may actually have been cracked, and he'll get permission to go for another one.
He's just going for the 9-iron, Mike, that's all. You know, one thing that we're going to see in this game that we didn't see in Game 2 is a lot more at this stage of the hockey game for the Oilers. We're going to see more of Craig McTavish, Marty McSorley, Mike Krushelnyski. You see that rack of sticks that he had to choose from? Well, you know what Paul Coffey does the day of the game. He sits and plays carpenter. But in game 2, with the Oilers trailing, John Sather played the Messier and Gretzky line to death, and he had to. He was trailing. Tonight, the guys that are strong defensively will be out there just as much, McTavish's and McSorley's.
We've seen them here early in the third. Right now, a centering pass is brushed away by Hextall and taken by Ron Sutter. Flyers hurry out, but it's still only a 2-on-2 as Derek Smith drops in. Goes to get it, but Charlie Huddy is there. Zezel anticipated, but did not control. Anderson's pass is away from Nielsen. Gathered in by Brad Marsh. Off the skate of Zezel, and then to Tocchet. Tocchet's pass knocked down by Glenn Anderson, who is in. Anderson hooked off and taken out of the play by Shell Samuelson, recovering brilliantly for Philadelphia. And Big Shell turns to bring it further. This is Samuelson moving up the wing. Still trying to force play, but it's Charlie Huddy. Anderson was loose.
He's loose again.
Right in front, it's punched by Hextall. Curry takes over. Backhander is wide. Messier tries to center, and Samuelson takes care of him. Now Sutter tying up Anderson, and back it comes to Messier and Samuelson. Curry knocks it free, but Mark Howe is there. Smooth skating Philadelphia defenseman. Howe steps toward the Edmonton line. Feeds off. Tocchet a drive, and it hit off Fuhr, and then he's knocked down. Tocchet flips one off the glass. It careens near Lindsey Carson. Across the goal mouth and off the mark. McCrimmon will play for Philadelphia. Tested by Gressier, just drops it off to Sutter, who hacks it back in. 15:30 left in the third. Oilers 3-2, and Curry is hurt. Stoppage of play. The collision was with Sutter.
Head first. You know, Mike, I've been in exactly this position before. Well, I'll tell you, the same thing happened to me a number of years ago in Edmonton, and it was Dave Lumley. I didn't see him coming. I tripped and went right into his legs, and it was my neck. I cracked a vertebrae in my neck and a little bit of skull in the back. I've got to hope for the Oilers' sake that it's not his neck.
The score of our game here at the Spectrum, Edmonton 3 and Philadelphia 2. The Spectrum is noisy, and on the replay you'll get a chance to see why this game is tied.
Right off a face-off from the neutral zone, Scott Mellanby will get loose on the far side. Randy Gregg pinches at the wrong time, and finally Grant Fuhr gets beat on a long one. Look how far to the net Fuhr is. Mark Howe, what a better guy to have the puck. There isn't one in the Flyers team. When there's one man open, you want Mark Howe to have it. Here's our reverse angle look, super slow-mo. Mellanby between the legs, and if there's one area that Fuhr is a touch vulnerable because he spreads, it's between his legs.
Here is Sutter. It's the Mellanby to McCrimmon. He scores!
17 seconds apart. Mellanby again, all the way over to McCrimmon. How valuable do you think that defenseman is getting up on the play? Lindsey Carson's at the bottom of your screen backing up McCrimmon, and McCrimmon went for it. Mellanby threaded the needle, and he bounced it in off of Fuhr's chest. Fuhr was all the way at the other side of the net facing Mellanby. Can you believe it? It's 4-3 Philadelphia.
In case you're just joining us, where have you been? Let's see it one more time. The one that broke the tie. Brad McCrimmon celebrating the goal that has thus far brought the crowd to its loudest ovation. This team in white trailed 3-0 earlier in the game. Got 2 in the second, and 2 and 17 seconds of the third to go ahead.
One more look at it. No one goes wide to the left. It's a clear 3-on-2. And Craig Muni decides to go to the net with Ron Sutter. That left McCrimmon open, and he had to bank it in right off the Oiler crest on Grant Fuhr's jersey.
It is deafening here as Howe skitters one through that's handled by Kevin Lowe. Lowe with the pass across. Oh, and a hit applied there for Philadelphia by Murray Craven. Puck wrapped in, and Hextall has it. Wraps it along for Poulin. He's pressed by Lowe. Puck taken and backhanded to the front, but that blocked off by McCrimmon. Every clear out, every play that is blocked down, just as McCrimmon did, is greeted by incredible volume. It'll be icing. They'll applaud this too.
You know what the concern is now if you're an Edmonton Oiler. We talked about the Flyers getting chances if the Oilers try and sit on it and play a conservative defensive style. Well, you know what? The last 2 goals the Flyers have scored have been simple defensive breakdowns by the Edmonton Oilers. So we know now that they're certainly still have a degree of vulnerability to them in tight defensive situations. The Mellenby goal came from a missed check at center. Listen to them here. And the last goal, also a misplay defensively.
Do they love this team? It's been going on here, this love affair, for most of 20 years, and has made this, along with Chicago Stadium, the most imposing place for the visitors. Coffey bails out. Marsh tries to get to it, had his stick held, and now spins one for Zezel. Off Messier. A chance here as Coffey blasts one. Held by Hextall.
You know what else I'm seeing that I didn't see much of in Game 2 in Edmonton? A 5th defenseman out there. Shel Samuelson's on the ice in this exchange as well. And he's played more and more as the game has gone by. He was actually a 6'6" screen on that one. Look at Marsh and Anderson get into it. Big Samuel. Samuelson's involved. I take a chance on him when he's that involved. Reverse angle, look at the shot. Hextall covers up. The battle in front. The trenches in front and in the corners. Oh, what are you going to do now, Glenn? Not much. That's 6'6", 225-pound Shel Samuelson asserting himself. There he is. They got to play him. This is a tough series. This is a long year. We're into May. We're almost into June. You got to go with 5, and Mike Keenan is showing more confidence in Samuelson tonight.
You saw the contrast, the snarl on Marsh's face, and the seeming calmness with Shel Samuelson, but he's been anything but calm in this one as Sutter moves in. Finesses for the shot by Samuelson that Fuhr hangs on. Wonderful action from the Spectrum. 13:41 to go, third period, 4-3 Philadelphia.
Where's... You know, in my haste to talk about Mike Keenan playing 5 defensemen because I've been seeing Shel Samuelson, it just dawned on me that we hadn't seen Doug Crossman for a while. And looking down at the bench, Mike, I don't know about you, I can't see him from here. So right, perhaps we spoke a little too soon. Samuelson forced into action. One way or the other, he's still fresher than a Doug Crossman would be at this stage of the game. He hasn't played that much tonight.
Zezel applies the check. Puck sent out. Another hit. On with it comes Ruotsalainen. Ruotsalainen feeds, brushed away by Tocchet. 13:25 to go, third period. Philadelphia ahead 4-3. Mark Messier moves on. Hit on the play by Zezel. Puck cleared by Derek Smith. Ruotsalainen flops one, and Shel Samuelson back to play. They're able to keep it in, and Nielsen sent one wide. Kevin Collins, the linesman, signaled yes, it was an onside play, that the rushing succeeded. Now Messier feeds on the wing, and Samuelsson back checks it away. Brad Marsh controlling for Philadelphia. Gives it on to Sutter. But because of Ruotsalainen, it's turned back over. Now Samuelsson said no to Nielsen, but gives up to Gregg. That one turned into Sutter, and so Muni has to play. Shift change on for Philadelphia. Good forechecking by Mellanby. And now the Oilers move out, and here's Gretzky moving on. Gretzky can't get it through. McCrimmon flicks it back out. Muni drops it on back to Kevin Lowe. Forechecking is Carson. Puck kicked off to Poulin. Poulin to the front, and that one went off the outside of the goal. Poulin locks up with Jari Kurri, and still they work on it. Stoppage of play. Bill, you just punch me if you want to say something, because I don't think I'll hear you.
The fans are saying most of it. What a hockey game.
Oh, gee, it's gotten quiet now, hasn't it?
Well, the hitting hasn't slowed down all that much, especially from Peter Zezel's standpoint.
Yeah.
Banging away at Mike Krushelnyski. Zezel has hit consistently in Edmonton, and here, 5'9", 200 pounds, like getting hit with a bowling ball.
Captain of the Flyers, Dave Poulin, comes to the bench. Sutter is out to work with Carson on the left, Mellanby on the right. We should tell you that Mellanby's goal at 4:37 came from Howe and Sutter. McCrimmon's goal 17 seconds later at 4:54 came from Mellanby and Sutter. The tire and the go-ahead goal. 12:09 remaining in the third. Philadelphia has a 4-3 lead. Muni able to bank one off, hoping for Kevin Lowe, but it's McCrimmon of Philadelphia. Ducks, then kick. On a hit by Krushelnyski on Ron Sutter. McCrimmon keeps it going, but then loses to Krushelnyski. Speeds over to Craig Muni, and Sutter forces him back. Then it's Lowe, and the Flyers buzzing around with successful forechecking, but now it's a 3-on-2 developing. Make it a 2-on-2 as one comes off, and Kurri feeds to Gretzky. Up the wing to Charlie Huddy. Huddy, a backhander directed away by Hextall. Howe turns, pivots away from Gretzky. Feeds on the wing to Lindsey Carson. Duels with Tikkanen. Carson centers one across the goal mouth wide. Back come the Oilers. Jari Kurri. 3 Flyers have dropped back. The drop is to Coffey. Coffey in too deep. Feeds one that's blocked off by Craven. It's a 2-on-1 Philadelphia. Drop and Sutter. The man back is Huddy. The play is to Sutter. High with the shot. And it's cleared, but only as far as Brad Marsh. 11 minutes to go in the third. Philadelphia leading Edmonton 4-3. Coffey calmly over to Huddy. Crisp pass, misses for Gretzky. No icing. Hextall leads for Kjell Samuelsson. McClellan forces him out. So it's on to Brad Marsh. Gets away from most of the check of Dave Hunter. Randy Gregg angles back off. And it's Samuelsson spinning for Philadelphia. 6 feet 6 of defenseman loses to Hunter. And then Samuelsson just steps right into him. Puck up for grabs, and it's McTavish couldn't get away from Propp's check. Things moving sort of in slow motion just for a moment. Everyone stopped to look. Play shanked off Ruotsalainen. Propp tests with him, and Ruotsalainen guides back. Play taken by McTavish now. Moving on Mark Howe. Has to pivot off. McTavish wheeling and sends one in front. It's on goal, and Hextall makes the save. 10:04, third period, 4-3, Philadelphia.
Here's some of the action away from the puck. Lindsey Carson, or make that Murray Craven hanging on to Hunter's stick and paying the price, but that's what the finals are all about, paying the price. Meanwhile, Craig McTavish takes a page from Wayne Gretzky's book, the little button hook turn and back out into the middle. Hextall loses this one for a second. He looks behind him. Now he has it. Good look from our reverse angle.
The word on Crossman is something that's common to us all now and then. He has sickness to his stomach, and it has forced him, at least temporarily, from this game. Randy Gregg was injured earlier. So was Jari Kurri. Both of them have come back for at least a shift. The line for the Oilers will be Messier with Anderson on his left and Nilsson on his right. Muni the right defense and Kevin Lowe the left. As you see the Oilers at their bench.
What a change the Flyers have laid on the Oilers this period. They've limited to one shot. We're down to halfway to go in the third period, and the Oilers only have one shot on Ron Hextall. I guess 2 with that last one. The Flyers have taken 6 on Grant Fuhr. You know, we talked about patience and determination, and we talked about the Oilers having acquired that. The Flyers showed me something tonight.
Peter Zezel rolls in, wanting Derek Smith. Shoulders with Muni. Zezel canceled out by Lowe in the centering pass. Floats wide for Tocchet. Turnarounders across the goal mouth wide, and Derek Smith is hurt. Did not see the puck coming by him. Mark Howe quickly back, plays it over to McCrimmon. Then on the turning stick of Rick Tocchet. Pass is checked away by Nielsen, who moves back in. Hands over to Messier. In front. Save! Hextall!
Well, that was sure a quality scoring chance in anybody's book. Watch out for Messier. You know, Ken Nilsson told me before this series started, and there's Nilsson dishing off to Messier. The big strength and the great ability to cut in. And the charge for the rebound. Messier, when he has the head of steam, you can see Mark Howe didn't even get the hook to him. But Ken Nilsson told me before this playoff started, when I said, what's it like playing with Messier and Anderson? He said, sometimes Anderson and I have to laugh at Messier. He's so determined. He gets to the bench and he looks at us, and he gets a weird look in his eyes and stares at us, and he says, time to pick it up, boys. And when Mark Messier turns it on, and that was an example of him picking it up, look out.
Glenn Sather behind the Oiler bench. And the premier player for the Oilers and for Team World, Wayne Gretzky, ready to take the draw with Ron Sutter. Kurri is in the trigger position, just out of camera range, behind Gretzky and to his left. It is Charlie Huddy, right defense, left defense, Paul Coffey. Mike Keenan orchestrating the Philadelphia position. Kevin Collins, linesman from Springfield, Massachusetts, will put it between Gretzky and Ron Sutter. And it is Craven. 9 minutes, 30 seconds to go. Philadelphia has come from behind to take the lead in this game. They were down at 1 point, 3-0. But the score of our game from the Spectrum now is Philadelphia 4, Edmonton 3. Charlie Huddy. Defense pair with Paul Coffey. Gretzky has Kurri on his right. And across on the left now, rather than Esa Tikkanen, is Mike Krushelnyski. Puck fed back and by Coffey. Craven after him, and Coffey dumps it back off to Huddy. Huddy's pass is right on the money to Paul Coffey. Coffey tested by Craven, who forces it away. Krushelnyski to Gretzky, and an errant pass, and the Oilers showing some bluster. 9 minutes to go. Ron Sutter takes over, plays it safely for McCrimmon to drop back on Huddy's stick. Huddy turns it on to Jari Kurri, and again the forechecking pays off. This is Sutter, while Cone tries to send it in front, and then Kurri carried off by Carson. Mike Krushelnyski starts back. This is a 3-on-3 developing. Krushelnyski tries to finesse McCrimmon and can't do it. Brad McCrimmon, who has right now the tie-breaking goal. Set that one ahead. It's broken up at the line, but furthered by Sutter. Here's Poulin, wanting to center, and Coffey forced him to the boards. Don Koharski watches, then blows the whistle to stop the clock with 8:17 left in the third. Philadelphia 4, Edmonton still 3.
You know, we talked about the bad ice here and how it would work against the Flyers as long as they were trailing. All of a sudden, the Oilers' advantage has become their disadvantage. They're trailing. And I've really noticed that in the last couple of minutes, the Flyers are doing what they do so well. They're taking the flow away from the Oilers. Poulin accepted a freeze along the boards. That's why we have this face-off. and they will try and squash the flow. Without the flow, the Oilers will have an even tougher time, especially with the ice the way it is.
Well, we've talked about leading through example, and Peter Zezel has done it tonight with those hits. That face-off, he's able to muscle behind, locks up with McTavish. 8:08 to go. Third period, 4-3 Philadelphia. This is Ruotsalainen for Messier, but he has to play the bounce and then roll.
Right, it bounced over his stick just because of bad ice.
That one hit an uneven piece of the board, and the Flyers will try to play further, and it's Tocchet lifting it back out. Ruotsalainen drops it over. It's flipped ahead, and ahead with it now is McTavish. Forced to spin by Samuelsson. Off the referee's skate. And here comes Eklund. Moving in with Derek Smith, the trailer. Eklund is shot. Saved by Fjord. And he waits.
What a perfectly executed 2-on-1 by that man, Pelle Eklund. The only thing that wasn't completely perfect was that he didn't score, but he cocked it and looked for the man coming. Derek Smith is coming to Eklund's left. See him pick him up right there, but he still got it cocked. He knows he can't make the pass to Smith. Muni played it pretty well. He took the pass away. From the other side, super slow-mo. Eklund took a glance right there to figure out who was with him. And I like this play. He always keeps it cocked ready to shoot. Now he can pass or shoot. He elects to shoot and comes within a couple of inches of getting it between Grant Fuhr's legs. That's only Eklund's second shot in this hockey game. So you know that the Oilers have been paying a little attention to him. Why shouldn't they? In the Montreal series, we saw him in 2 consecutive games up in Montreal notch 6 points, including 5 goals.
We saw the referee, Don Koharski, and now the Oilers bench. Glenn Sather very calmly looking on. Face-off will be in his team's defensive end of the ice. And Dave Poulin will have to take it from that man, Mark Messier. Yes, you saw a close-up. That is a face that could stare daggers if you were a line mate not producing. It is low. Then to Muni and to Nielsen. Crisply to Messier. Messier has a man with him. It's Anderson. Play broken down by Mark Howe and started back out by Poulin. Dave Poulin looks to prop. Tries to get away. But a good check applied there by the Oilers' Craig Muni. And another one as Howe goes down with Anderson. It's McCrimmon taking over. 7:05 to go in the third. And Muni must turn and chase. After him is Craven. Follows through on the check. Play made by Kevin Lowe. Lowe guides it ahead. Messier looks. Hands onto Anderson. Drive. And that's trapped by Hextall. Hextall able to put it in play. Shunted along by Charlie Huddy. But Brad Marsh is there. Still they work. And Marsh on second effort gets it to Tocchet. Deflected by Courtney, and Tocchet tried to hatchet it in, but that didn't work. Brad Marsh on now to Tocchet. Plays the safe one, but that under Zezel. Turning with it is Jari Kurri. Broken up by Tocchet. Drive, no goal, offside. You were probably able to overhear Don Koharski. One of the few people you've been able to hear in the third period.
Here's a look at it.
Oh.
Does that not look onside to you?
Yep.
Sure looked like it was from where I'm sitting. The big blast by Tocchet. Man, I got to tell you.
That puck must be all the way outside and clear of the blue line. It wasn't. 6:24 to go in the third. 4-3 Philadelphia. The man out of the University of Wisconsin who got the one that tied it at 4:37 of the period, Scott Mellenby.
And then assisted on the one that sent the Flyers into the lead. One more look at this offside call. It nullified a goal by the Flyers. Here it comes. Any way you look at it, I don't think we need another angle of that one. What a different Flyers team with the lead than we've seen in the last few games, Mike. I think back to about a minute and a half ago of a 3-on-3 with Messier's line leading the charge. 2 defensemen back, and Dave Poulin back. So it's a 3-on-3. Those are the kind of situations the Flyers really sagged in key situations in game 1 and 2. They stood them right up, forced the turnover at their blue line. And that, to me, is the difference in the Flyers with this lead in the third period. They've really shut the Oilers down and taken away their quality chances. More assertive.
If you could only bottle whatever it is that turns things like this around, you could retire tomorrow and sell the rights.
Take a momentum pill, right? Little capsule of momentum. We'd be retired.
Ron Finn, the veteran linesman, to put the puck in play again. The scoreboard clock shows that the Oilers have 6 minutes, and now 2, and now 1 second. 6 minutes even in which to get at least a tie. They trail in the game 4-3. But as the Flyers found out 2 nights ago, it can change quickly. Here's Curry trying to beat Gretzky, and it's flung back out by Carson. And then Sutter tripped up. Play continues. On it comes from Gretzky to Curry. Cross ice and Coffey over skates. Brad McCrimmon sees an alley. Hands on to Mellanby. Drive! And Fuhrer got in front of that. Play made back along to Tikkanen, who checks with Sutter. Sutter in front. Mellanby for Carson, and it's knocked away by Charlie Huddy. On with it comes Gretzky. Gretzky a drive. Trickles wide. Brad Marsh checks with his man, Jari Kurri. Muscling in are Tikkanen and Sutter. Puck comes loose to Kurri. Can't get it in front because of Samuelsson. Puck held by Ruotsalainen, a drive blocked by Mars. Gregg centers one, blocked by Hextall, swung away by Brad Marsh, and it's cleared by Samuelsson. Furious action at the Philadelphia goal. The biggest line of the Oilers out there. Couldn't knock it home. Brad Marsh checked firmly on the play, but gets it to Derek Smith, then on out to Zezel. Zezel leading the Flyer rush back. Taken down on the play, offside. And for that, and not the penalty that the Flyer fans wanted, the clock is stopped. 4:35 left in the third. It's still Philadelphia 4, Edmonton 3. There'll be a face-off, but first, some conversation. Kelly Buchberger standing next to Tocchet. This is only the second shift appearance we recall of Buchberger tonight. He is the fistic, hard-checking left winger that came to the Oilers after their farm team in Nova Scotia of the American League was eliminated from the playoffs. Eklund, the center, Craven, the left wing, Tocchet, the right. And Tocchet protesting to Don Koharski about encroachment by Buchberger.
Pretty good restraint by Tocchet. It is Buchberger that's pushing him. There's an imaginary line that runs right through the face-off dot over to where the wingers are standing. And that's what the linesmen and the referees try to control. Buchberger was definitely encroaching on the line, pushing Tocchet right back.
McCrimmon drives into the glove of Fuhrer. And it is Muni in the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds of regulation time. His team trailing by 1. Kevin Lowe up the wing, and Buchberger angles one in. Craven takes his man out, but there is McSorley for a turnarounder. And the pad of Hextall got that one. It is Eklund for Philadelphia. Lobs it over to Murray Craven, and Craven is shot sticked away by Fuhrer. Buchberger checked by Tocchet. The puck popped by McCrimmon, gathered in by Howe, and McSorley right after him. McCrimmon into the referee. Back McCrimmon will have a second try and just brushes it loose. Kevin Lowe turns in the final 3:50 of regulation. Sends it too far for Buchberger, who waltzes with Howe, takes him down. Play continues, and McSorley comes in and steps into Dave Brown. We've talked of discipline, and Brown, who normally likes to fly into those, exercises it there.
Restraint. Sorry, restraint is the word.
The scene is the Spectrum in Philadelphia. 3:42 to go in the third. With Bill Clement and Tom Meese, Mike Emmerich, Philadelphia trailed at one time 3-0. Craven and Zezel scored in the second. Mellanby and McCrimmon in the third. And the Flyers have the lead. It'll be a center ice faceoff, as it was the Oilers ruled guilty of freezing the puck. Dave Brown comes to the bench, and it'll be Tocchet out once more. Boy, he's been busy in this third period.
And he has exercised restraint, too. You know that Bookberger's out there trying to throw him off his game, perhaps get him to retaliate. Rick Tocchet, very disciplined in the third.
Brad Marsh ahead. And Marsh just lays it back. It gets by Fuhr. Tocchet is there for Philadelphia and sent one off his stick wide. Puck nudged along and handled by Kent Nielsen. Directed ahead by Anderson to Messier. Wanted to return it, but Zezel in the way. Paul Coffey matched up with Huddy. Powerful line up front. Moves ahead. Glenn Anderson fakes the drive. Blocked by Samuelson. Quick shot. And covering his angles well was Hextall. Making that one look quite simple, and it was, because he had that side closed. Marsh drops it back, and Coffey had to thread one through Zezel, but did over to Huddy. Too far up the wing for Anderson. Under 3 minutes to play. Paul Coffey connects now with Nielsen. Back up to Messier. Leaned on by Samuelson, and again, the big defenseman forces it to go the other way. Drop a shot, and that one ricocheted off an Oiler defenseman. Guided back out for a little kick to Messier. Messier, a shot, and it's wide. Guided back out on the backhand by Sutter. There'll be an icing call. Back to touch is Tikkanen with snow flying. The clock stops. 2:28 left in the third.
Well, the Flyers finally found a piece to the puzzle, at least the piece that solves the Grant Fuhr puzzle. Tonight, they scored 4 on him, and that's something that the Oilers haven't allowed. You mentioned it earlier, Mike, in 11 games, all of the Detroit series, all of the Winnipeg series, the first 2 of this, in 11 games, the Oilers had not allowed more than 3 goals. 2 of the goals tonight went right through Grant Fuhr's legs, and a third one went through that was disallowed. That's the area that they finally hit there where they can beat Grant Fuhr.
They are standing here to salute the play of their Flyers in this third period. There'll be another one Sunday, 7 Eastern Daylight Time. That'll be Game 4. We'll have it for you on ESPN. Regardless of your loyalties, or even if you're a neutral, you have to respond to the gameness of this Philadelphia team and the atmosphere that we're all feeling here at the Spectrum. Philadelphia down 2 games to none, down 3 goals to none. Craven and Zezel in the second, Mellanby, and then Mellanby setting up McCrimmon here in the third. Flyers by 1, but Gretzky's line is out. Craven gives up to Ruotsalainen, whose shot ricochets off 2. McCrimmon checked off by Tikkanen. Puck kept by Gregg. Back for Tikkanen, working with Curry. The puck behind to Gretzky. Centers, but it's off the diving Mark Howe. Mellanby tries to check it further, and they have to play back at center ice. 2:05 to go. Delayed offside is wiped as the Flyers play out, and quickly it turns the other way, and Hextall is forced once more. Wraps it around. It hits off the rail and takes a Flyer bounce back to the Edmonton line. Ruotsalainen on the turning stick of Randy Gregg. Then to Gretzky. Finesses on to Tikkanen. Chopped at, then shoved down by Derek Smith. Oh, and right on goal came a quick shot that Hextall grabbed. And Tikkanen comes back after Mark Howe. And now Derek Smith going after him and knocks him over.
Dig in, guys. Time to go to the races. And at this stage of the game, the Oilers, who usually look for a quality shot, aren't going to bother. They're drifting him from sharp angles. Ruotsalainen, that time, guys trying to jam for the rebounds. That's when you end up with the confrontations like we just saw between the European version of Kenny Linsman, if you will, Esa Tikkanen and Derek Smith. So the Oilers are forced now to forget about the picture-perfect play unless they see it. They're not going to try and create it. It has to be readily available for them. They're going to start drifting rubber and jamming the way the Flyers do when they're in situations like this.
2 prominent players tonight. Bill just mentioned one in Tikkanen. But another on defense for Philadelphia is out there again. Doug Crossman has been ill, sick to his stomach, and his shift has been taken over by Swedish-born Kjell Samuelsson. 17,222 watching here at the Spectrum.
You know, one of the reasons that the Oilers are going to jam him from the side, I mentioned that they're at the stage of the game where they can't make a perfect play, but also the Flyers aren't letting them see anything. They've only had 2 quality scoring chances, 2 quality shots in this period. That's how they control the Oilers. Keep the quality chances down.
Big face-off. Messier and Ron Sutter encroaching Anderson. Warren back as Nielsen gives to Coffey a shot. Off of Anderson, who was waltzing with Samuelson, and ahead now Tocchet. Big drive. Blocked away by Fuhr. Tocchet pinches again. Broken up by Huddy. Messier comes back to help out, and Fuhr has to tend it away. Ron Sutter checked by Anderson, and Anderson tries to lob it out but can't. Tries to carry. That doesn't work, and Tocchet drills one high and wide from center ice, and that one come careening in. A minute 15 to go. Down to the ice, Anderson. Play made ahead by Charlie Huddy. Howe leaning on him. Huddy to Messier. Messier curls the net. Feeds over for Anderson, broken up. Still in his goal is Grant Fuhr. It is Coffey turning and going down. Brian Propp picks it up. Plays it for McCrimmon. 50 seconds to go. Puck wrapped along, and Anderson able to punch it through to Nielsen. 45 seconds left. We'll keep an eye on Fuhr as play moves ahead. Nielsen carries it. Nielsen into the zone, and the whistle is blown. Offside is the call. Fuhr was only halfway out of his crease. He had not made the move to the bench yet. 39 seconds to play.
They're in a tough spot now, the Oilers, with Grant Fuhr not out of the net and the face-off outside the blue line. 39 seconds isn't a lot of time. What an effort by the Flyers.
And we're getting a timeout call. An opportunity for the Flyers to have a breather and the Oilers to form plans.
Well, they better come up with a big one. What a turnaround. And you know, when we talk about patience and determination, you can't understand unless you've played the game what it means to go down 3-0 in a hockey game, especially against the Edmonton Oilers, and to come back. Your attitude is tested to the greatest degree that it could be tested. And more times than not, the average team ends up letting down, and they never do recover. But these 2 hockey teams didn't get here just with skill and just with determination. It's that ingrained desire to win combined with a hatred for losing that won't allow them to quit. And neither of these teams has allowed each other to quit. When they get to the bench, guys like Messier will say to Nielsen and Anderson, pick it up, guys. You know that Dave Poulin and Peter Zezel and Brad Marsh and all the Flyers are saying the same thing. It's a test of will sometimes, especially when this game changes back and forth the way it does. And both of these teams are so strong-willed.
24 square feet of net is open at the other end. 6 attackers. You won't find better players in all the world. Curry, Messier, Gretzky, Coffey. Also, Ruotsalainen and McTavish out for Edmonton. Propp, Zezel, Ron Sutter, Big Shell Samuelson, and Mark Howe defending for Philadelphia. And it's to Samuelson. Samuelson plays it to Propp, and Propp shovels one in.
You're wondering if it would have been an icing had he missed. The answer is no. Brian Propp makes the thinking man's play. His skate was over center. His follow-through was over center. The linesman did not signal that it was going to be an icing call. Disgusted Paul Coffey. Even if Propp misses the net, that is not an icing call. Great thinking play. And the Flyers have locked it up. We got a series.
Just in case there was any doubt about the willingness to hit, Stanley and Brown are out on the wing for Lindsey Carson for the final 31 seconds. Here's Stanley wheeling in. Takes his man down, and it's Carson centering, and Stanley turned around and hit the outside of the goal. McTavish shovels. Carson broke it up. Centers one, and Fuhr hangs on with 14 seconds left.
You can see that the tempers are there, and I have to like Mike Keenan's move. He has the last change. The Oilers put out Kevin McClellan. He's a tough guy. Buchberger's tough. Krushelnyski can take care of himself. You never know what's going to happen at the end of a game when a guy like McClellan or McSorley is upset at losing. Why not put Daryl Stanley and Dave Brown out there just to make sure nothing gets out of hand?
A guy by the name of Dave Leonardi, who is better known as Sign Man, displaying some of his. We'll give you some of ours. Samuelson and Zezel assisting prop. But there's the big sign that indicates we'll go to Game 4 with Edmonton having 2 wins and Philadelphia having 1. And in case you keep track of things like this, despite her passing 2 years ago, the recording of Kate Smith adds to the record that was kept from the time of Clement here. 56, 9, and 2 when Kate Smith sings or has her music played. We're down to the last 7 seconds of a beautifully played game, especially in the comeback role of Philadelphia. 1 second is left, and now Don Koharski may have hoped that that one would have gone off because Dave Brown and Marty McSorley seem willing.
You know, if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, I want to get the heck out of here and get into the locker room. Nothing can be served by Marty McSorley tangling with Dave Brown. He could whip Dave Brown right now, and it wouldn't help the Oilers. But I'll tell you, if Dave Brown happened to whip Marty McSorley, that's a double setback for the Oilers, emotionally, losing the game and having one of their toughest guys knocked around by Dave Brown. Nothing can be served by the Oilers, only the Flyers in engaging now and stuff like that.
Good point. Again, in case you missed it, the assists were Samuelson and Zezel. Zezel winning the faceoff. Samuelson just flinging it ahead to Prop, who put it in from 90 feet. An empty net goal with 34 seconds to go. And with 1 second left, all that's left is the loudest cheer of the night.
You know who has come through pretty well for Philadelphia? Once we noticed Doug Crossman wasn't here, Kjell Samuelsson. I wonder if he might have proved to Mike Keenan that he can play in a series like this, and maybe Mike Keenan will be a little more anxious to use him in certain situations and save the wear and tear on the 4 guys. There he is, biggest guy in the National Hockey League, and he's criticized because he looks so slow out there, but big guys have it tougher. They don't look like they're producing. He tries darn hard. 6'6", 225 pounds, and it frustrates a lot of the blue-collar people in Philadelphia because he doesn't play like a guy that's 6'6" and 225.
All right, now off the face-off, Craven is involved across the way with the left winger that the Oilers had out for that last face-off. I believe it may have been Buchberger.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
That's exactly who it was. See who jumped in there quickly? Big 28, Kjell Samuelsson asserting himself. But it's too late.
Is the stage ever set for Sunday at 7 p.m.? Every facet of the game that the Oilers had an edge on is now held in question.
And you know, Mike, the way this game started, it started so strongly stacked against the Philadelphia Flyers. The cards were coming out all wrong. Oilers opened up a lead, 3 unanswered goals, and then it was spectrum determination that we have seen year after year by the Flyers. Scored 5 unanswered goals, and there's the final as a result of the 5 unanswered tallies. What a fabulous comeback.
And for not only the comeback, but for their effort throughout, Philadelphia can experience one of the greatest feelings of sports, and that's being in the locker room, exhausted but victorious. 5-3 Philadelphia.
The final score tonight from the Spectrum in Philadelphia, the Flyers 5, the Edmonton Oilers 3. It once again is a series, Edmonton leading it 2-1. Be with us once again Sunday night, won't you? Live from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Game 4 of the finals, Edmonton and the Flyers at 7. That is 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific time, of course, subject to blackout. 5 straight goals get the Flyers back into the Stanley Cup Final. Now for Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich, and everyone associated with our Road to the Cup crew here in Philadelphia, good night from the Spectrum. We'll see you Sunday at 7.